Sorry, y'all. I misinterpreted what Joey meant. I thought that he meant he wanted to do the debate right now, but he was talking about trying to set up the debate for later tonight. Because I just had a misapprehension of, I guess, where we were working from. And I always forget what time zone Joey is in. I'm gonna have to ask that again, I think. But maybe understanding that would make planning things a little easier. But we do have one scheduled for later tonight, so that is good. As for now, I guess you guys get the morning show. Bum bum ba-dum. Gotta deal with... Alrighty, yeah, cool. Alrighty. Who can take the sunrise? Make it be a sun. Make it be a sun that heats up the whole world. The sun god. Oh, sun god. You guys ready? I thought that there was going to be a debate right now, but apparently, well, it's not even really going to be a debate. It's just like a conversation, I guess. A dialogue, if you will. But it's being moved to later. I thought it was being moved to now, but it is being moved to later. Hi, Teoria. I'm back. I is back. I've heard enough. Another $1 billion to Israel. Yeah, that sounds like you, Perseus. Always looking to help out those Israelis. Respectfully, what made you want to transition? Living in a body that I could not identify with? Looking in the mirror and feeling perpetually like there was something wrong? Reading the stories of other trans women that had felt that way for so long and then came out as trans and felt better? Basically. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, 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 ooh. I hope I'm in your dreams the way you are. I hope I'm in your dreams the way you are. I hope I'm in your dreams the way you are in all of mine. Oh, you got a love so fine. I wish that I could make you mine. Sit down and you look so fine. I don't do this like one day we will know. And then a river will roll and on, even after they're all long gone. And a river will blow on. Won't you take me with you before I'm gone? Ooh, ooh. I wonder why views aren't displaying properly on Prism. There they go. Now they are. Same hairstyle as George Washington? No. No, I have bangs. See? George Washington did not have bangs. My wore his hair in a bun. Did not have bangs. Tsk. Can you quit? Lily Tino younger? You know what? I will take that as a huge compliment. Show the headphone dent, please. The headphone dent? It's Paul Zigo that has the headphone dent. I have not been podcasting nearly long enough to have a headphone dent. And normally when I wear headphones and I'm not streaming, I use these. And really the only reason I use the big over-ear headphones when I'm streaming inside is for the noise canceling that they offer. It makes it a lot easier to hear just what I need to hear. Okay, we should be back. Sorry. For some reason, views weren't displaying correctly, comments weren't displaying correctly, nothing was like being displayed correctly. Cool, another musician. My mate is a drummer. He got triplets. What? What are you talking about now? I have that flag as well. It is one of the nicer pride flags, wouldn't you agree? Isn't it a nice flag? Are you secretly a furry femboy? I am openly a trans woman. Why would I be secretly anything else? I am who I am. You support Palestine or Israel? I support the people of Palestine. I think that we need to basically immediately revoke all American military aid to Israel and condition any further aid to Israel at all whatsoever on them actually behaving like human beings. They need to stop the genocide. They need to quit their incursions on all their neighbors. Does Trump make you angry? Not quite as angry as the systems that enabled and created Trump. Not quite as angry as the capitalist, billionaire-owned frameworks that enable him. Trump is just a symptom of the disease, you know? He is an aroma of the underlying rot. You know how you like break a floorboard in your house or something, and so suddenly you're like, oh God, I really need to go into the crawl space and see how bad the damage is, see what's going on here. Maybe there's a small leak I just never noticed, pinhole leak or something. And you get under there, and the closer you get, you smell that mold smell, that mildew. That's the smell of Trump. But ultimately, it's not the smell of the underlying system. It's the stench of a symptom that is going to remain even if you clear out all instances of its being there. Because it's just going to come back if you don't undermine the pernicious system that made it possible in the first place. Excuse me. Hello from Denmark. Hello, Denmark! What is it, like midday for you guys? If you hate it here, where is better? When did I ever say I hate it here? What, just because I got problems means I have to hate it? Since when? Seems a little strange. Satanic symbolism in the background and on guitar. You just literally operate with everything you do, everything you see, everything you come in contact with. You really do filter it through the lens of your backwards Bronze Age superstition, don't you? All of it, every single bit of it. You see some random pentacle in a trans girl's live stream and you're like, oh, she must be satanic. You see some rainbow in the pride flag and you're like, oh my God, that Christian symbol that they're depraving. It's not your fucking symbol, bro. You don't own any of the symbols back here. You don't get to define them for everyone else. Hi, are you satanic? Nope. I'm an atheist. I believe in neither God nor Satan nor any of the other illusory delusions that my species has adopted over the last few 100,000 years to explain things for which there isn't good explanation. Could you tell me why you're an atheist? Because I see absolutely no reason why any of the processes that explain how nature works or how this world operates or anything else need God in order to make sense. In fact, the superimposition of God onto scientific ideas usually complicates things without actually adding much, without revealing anything, without assisting in the drive to truth. You can measure God in the same way you can measure gravity. That is an abject lie. No, you cannot. Or at least if you can, nobody has ever proven so in a way that was convincing enough for anyone to believe them. So, I'd love to see the paper. Believes others are stupid while also believing there are more than two genders. Yeah, gender is a wide series of different types of expression. There are lots of different genders. You realize, like, different countries, different nations, ethnicities, etc., different cultures have different ideas of what genders should be and what social behaviors each gender role should constitute and everything else, right? Like, it's not some solid unitarian, like, it's not some, like, solid unified concept that exists across all of humanity and is represented the same way. Gender is a lot more complicated than dick or pussy. I'm sorry that I'm the first one to have to tell you this, okay? But it just is. Let me ask you this, is murder bad? Yes, because I would not like to be murdered, nor would I like to see other people murdered, nor do most other people like to see people murdered. Plus, it's kind of hard to maintain a society that can keep on going and hope to perpetuate itself if murder is allowed as a normalized thing that people are able to find consistent moral justification in. But it's also important to note that murder, by definition, cannot be just, because murder specifically means an unjust killing. Because killing is not seen as universally bad by any morality out there. Well, very few moralities. But none of the big ones. Not secular humanism, not any of the world religions, certainly. The world religions have more exceptions for who they think you can kill than almost any other kind of, group I can think of that's promulgating moral theories. Maga bots can only move 4 directions because there are only 4 directions on a compass. True. I just explained to you, Faith, why murder is bad. Because a society that allows murder can't function. But also, murder is morally bad because, that's just kind of what it's defined as. If something wants to be viewed as a moral killing, it is simply redefined out of being murder. So, do you see what I'm picking up here? As far as why is unjust killing bad, it's bad because most people would not like to be killed, period. It's also bad because a society cannot function if there is not some baseline level of understanding between the people that live in a given area as to what sort of conduct is going to be allowed. And and you cannot let just open killing of human beings for no good reason be a part of that, because obviously people will kill other people occasionally for reasons that are very terrible. Now, to be fair, even in places where there was no established state and government to ensure this kind of thing, even without the threat of state force, human beings still only ever managed to get as high as a 1 in 4 murder rate. And that is based on some pretty fucking shaky science that has since been updated to be a more like 1 in 20 murder rate. But it's also super important to realize that we were a much smaller species then, living in much smaller communities, under a lot greater stressors. My morality is not subjective, Faith. At least it's not subjective in the sense that I don't, look to it and make moral judgments off of it. Obviously I do. Nor is it subjective in that it's, ever-changing or, necessarily subject to other people's judgments about it. It's subjective in the sense that I obviously have a part that I play in crafting it, but so do you. You do not believe in biblical morality. You don't believe in slavery. You probably don't believe in sleeping with your drunk father so that you can help perpetuate your family's line. I doubt very seriously that you believe in killing all of humanity to satisfy divine retributive justice. I bet if we actually got into the morality of the Bible, you only make excuses for the moral shortcomings of God and the moral shortcomings of the church fathers, because that's the religion you were born into. It's what your parents practiced, and if it's not what your parents practiced, then it's fine. It's what the local pastor in the area where you first decided to go to church practiced. It's the cultural osmosis you grew up around. No wonder you fell into Christianity. That's what you were around. I would have gone down the same path if perhaps I'd been taught a different version of Christianity, or if perhaps I'd been less able to access information. And my morality is no more just opinions than anyone else's morality is. I cannot simply choose to change my morality on the fly. To do so would feel like a betrayal to me. It would feel like a letdown in a lot of ways. Unless it was something that I thought I was improving on, in which case I imagine I might feel differently. But even then, it's not something I can choose on a dime to believe differently in. My morality is only subjective in the sense that it is subject to the influence of new information and the compelling words of people I trust. But like, it's not subjective in the sense that it is like up to my everyday whims to create. It's something that people form over a long period of time, and that once they've got a firm morality established, they tend to follow and apply pretty objectively. As if it were objective. Not only that, though, let's just say that we reduce subjective and objective to their colloquial meanings of changing versus unchanging. If you take objective morality to be a morality that is unchanging, that never goes away, that is unquestionable, unshakable, and based only on faith and the presumption that you're right, I don't think I want an objective morality in such instances. I think I want a morality that is thought out, reasoned, and enacted and established by the people within the communities, being moralized about, I guess. Are we blazing up? Is that actually tobacco in your pipe? Everybody wants to know. Yes. Well, that's kind of what I mean, Josiah. Subjective morality is morality that is somewhat populist in nature, and that is actually a truer, more honest way to look at morality. It's an honest thing to say that morality is to some degree subjective and determined by cultures and the people living within them and the times they're subjected to and their material conditions and all this shit. That is just a more honest way of looking at the world than acting like there is some universal morality that everybody must feel a call to, and if you don't, you must be some kind of, ruined human. That just doesn't make any sense to me. People's morality is largely determined by their material conditions and the people that they're raised by, like the cultural mores around them. I like your dress, also not trying to be rude, but do you use using specific pronouns? Yes. She, her, hers. So slavery was okay, emphasis on was? No. Once again, morality is subjective in the sense that it changes for the times and cultures that it exists within, but it's applied objectively when analyzing things within that moral framework. So no, slavery was never okay. There were even people back when slavery was going on that recognized that it wasn't okay. It was morally acceptable for a time, but that doesn't mean that it was actually morally acceptable. Just like with science, the better we get at discussing morality and ethics, and the better we get at discussing our philosophy, and the more we find out about the nature of our existence and the limits of our technology, the better and more accurate our moral judgments become. And I think at this point, the jury's in. American chattel slavery was evil. My cat's got the zoomies. I don't know why you think you get to fucking spam in this chat, but I'm getting sick to death of seeing it, so we're gonna do something right now that's gonna end that. There you go. No more spamming bullshit. Thank you. Thank you for telling me your pronouns. Also glad you're teaching people about this stuff. Yeah, 100%. It's shocking to me that YouTubers like myself, and I'm not trying to compare myself to him in terms of reach or anything, but Milo Rossi or Professor Dave or any of these people who are out there trying to debunk it at way, 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 way higher levels than I am. It is incredible to me that people doing that kind of thing have to do it. Another good creator you should check out is Aton Shea Films. He is awesome. I've got so many good YouTuber recommendations. I watch a lot of YouTube. Anyway. Who do you think is spamming? The person you couldn't see because you don't run the channel. Do you think humanism is the philosophy? The philosophy? I don't think there is any the philosophy. I don't think there is like one true, unequivocal philosophy for all time. That's kind of my whole point here. Is that as technology evolves, as the world evolves and creatures and plants evolve, it becomes more and more important for us to have a morality that can update with those things. I love your content. Thank you. I appreciate it. If anybody else loves the content, you can donate just like Josiah Baker just did with that $2 using the Super Chat button down to the bottom right, or Cash App. You can find that down below, and I appreciate it a lot. YouTube doesn't take their fee, and I get to use it instantly, so it's very nice. Thank you so much. They give me $2 every time I click this button. I love that. That is so dope. Yay. Good, Josiah. I'm glad. Maybe they'll keep doing it. There is no God. Faith, before you make any of these presuppositional arguments, you need to prove that there is a God. And then you need to prove that it's your God. And then you need to prove that your God actually gave moral lessons down in the form of some book that can actually be read that hasn't been edited 1,000,000 times since the original document was set down. And nobody has that. If somebody had that, nobody in the world would be an atheist. We would all be whatever that religion was. Because, like, that would be... Like, if somebody could actually prove beyond a shadow of a doubt in a scientific setting the veracity of any religion, it would spread across the world like wildfire. People are primed for that kind of shit. They love that kind of shit. They would love it. Oh my God. You'd see the whole world convert to that religion. But because no religion is able to test the veracity of its claims and prove them unequivocally, that has never happened. Instead, religions have promulgated themselves primarily through violence and settler conflict. No, I don't need to prove that there is no God. You need to prove that there is one. You realize what you're asking for, right? Do you realize what you're asking for? Because I don't know if you get it. When you say that an atheist has to prove there is no God, you are asking atheists to basically scope out every inch of the conceivable universe and make absolutely sure that there could possibly not be a God anywhere in that system. And even then you guys wouldn't accept it, because even then you would probably just find some new liturgical reason why it's all actually valid in the end. So, the burden of proof is not on the atheist, right? Not just for that, but also for the reason that the atheist is not making a positive claim. I'm not saying there is something. I'm saying there isn't something that other people are saying there is. And they are saying it with no evidence, merely on the basis of faith. And I'm saying, no, I don't believe that shit. Seems like it's not based on much. When I ask people for proof, they give me the Holy Bible, which is a heavily edited text that has been passed down generation to generation and used to co-opt people into horrible war crimes, to oppress people all over this planet, to do horrible, depraved, nasty things. So I can't accept that. Or they hand me the Quran. Same fucking thing. The Quran and the Hadiths have the same foul poison littered through them. I ain't trying to disprove shit. I'm just saying I don't believe your unproven claim. An atheist does not have to provide proof there is no God. The theist has to provide proof that there is a God. I don't think you understand how this works. In the case of the Christian God, there are specific proofs against the biblical narrative. We know for a fact that the earth is millions of years old. We know for a fact that the universe is billions of years old. We know for a fact that, well, the earth is billions of years old too, but we know the universe is even older than that, okay? So we know the biblical narrative simply cannot be accurate. We know the world was not created in 7 days. There's no amount of creative reinterpretation of that you can do to make it make sense. Any level of sense. It's clearly a bullshit myth written by primitive people who didn't understand a flake about how the world works. It's a fundamental axiom of the scientific method that you can't provide a proof for a negative statement that isn't local, defined, or logical. The concept of God is none of those three things. Exactly. So literally it is an unfalsifiable hypothesis. That's the scientific term for what God is. It's an unfalsifiable hypothesis, which is not a good thing. Every hypothesis that is good is falsifiable. The existence of gravity could be so easily disproven, the current understanding and theory of gravity, for example, that hypothesis could be so easily falsified by simply finding some other planet where that constant doesn't play out. But we've never found that planet. We've never found that area of space. We've never figured out any way to actually manipulate the gravitational constant, or to figure out some place where it doesn't quite apply. Thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity, we know a bit more about how it works, but it works in a fashion that we understand. We understand completely how it works. There's no point in space in which gravity does not apply or does not exist. It's a testable, falsifiable theory. God is not. You can't go out and get a scoop of God. According to Christians and all other religious people, God is invisible and all around us at the same time. And you can't, there's no way to measure God, because according to religious people, God is intangible, exists in spirit and in a essentially another dimension is what you'll get out of them, which also makes no sense. How would something in another dimension necessarily have omnipotence or power over us or the ability to observe us or anything else? But putting that aside, they basically create some kind of extra dimensional pocket to put God in, to explain why we can still get to the stars and send satellites up into space, and they work, despite the Bible describing the planet having a dome, an impenetrable dome over it. Atheists make the claim there is no God. You're thinking of agnostics. Don't correct me, kid. I'm an agnostic atheist, which means I don't know for sure that there might not be some kind of divine presence out there, but I know as good as I can be assured that the Christian, like the Abrahamic God, is definitely not real. And I have seen no good evidence for any other God. And so seeing as how there's no evidence and seeing how it's not a preferable fantasy, choose not to believe in that shit. Because I don't see any evidence for it, and it has never done my life or anyone else's life a lick of good. Well, I can't say it's never done anyone else a lick of good. Maybe it has some people, but it doesn't do society a whole lot of good. What the hell does you being transfem have to do with the existence of God? It doesn't. I think you might be reading a little bit into the title. You know, because like I can talk about whatever I want here, and the topics are pretty wide and variable. Probably tell by the stream title. Because I'm a logical person, Kenneth. That's why I can't. Because to me, believing in the idea that there may be a divinity up there still leaves me with the question of who the fuck talked about it the right way. Has anybody gotten it the right way? Is there even any way to interface with this creature's morality? Sure, it might be more pleasant for some people to think that there's an omnipotent creator God looking out for them in particular, but it's a narcissistic belief. Can I explain why? Because in order for you to convince yourself purely by virtue of the fact that it makes you feel better and you feel like it makes your life better, to convince yourself on that basis alone that there is a God and that that's a preferable thing, so you're just going to go ahead and believe in it, is to basically say that you believe in a God that basically just cares about you. You're basically saying that the divine creator of the universe cares about you and your family, maybe your local community, maybe your country, and that's it. Which is the height of narcissism. It is to say, I am the only person that matters. I know God is out there because God looks out for me. Never mind all those starving African kids. Never mind all the people dying in the constant wartime of the fucking Democratic Republic of Congo. Never mind people dying of opiate addiction here in the United States. Fuck all those people. I'm fine. So there must be a God. Get out of here. No, it does society a whole lot of bad. If you want to see a prudent example of the type of bad that religion helps to foment, you need look no further than the current ongoing aggressive and illegal war by the United States and Israel against Iran, which is a war that is being largely justified on religious grounds. There's also some geopolitical shit in there too, because these days people have become secular enough that you can't just justify a war on religious grounds anymore. But make no bones about it. People like Mike Huckabee are out there telling people that it's perfectly fine for Israel to capture most of the Middle East. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is by getting rid of Iran. Fucking with Iran. And that's how they are selling it to the Christian evangelicals in the United States. This is a war for Israel's security and for the success of the Jewish people to return to their homeland so that we can bring about the rapture and end the world, of course. It is the depraved beliefs of a tribal death cult that should have never been allowed to escape the Middle East. And I don't mean that it should have been like wiped out or whatever. I'm just saying that like one of the worst mistakes ever made by a political leader was Constantine choosing to convert to Christianity and take the Roman Empire down that path and take this very regional, backwards, barbarous religion and export it to all the corners of the world. You have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, buddy. What do you think about the Epstein files? I think it's basically like the biggest cover-up of the 21st century. It doesn't seem like the American political class is going to do much about it, mainly because a lot of them are indicted by those little black boxes in the Epstein files, so they don't want that shit released completely uncensored. They don't want to get prosecuted for their many crimes. And it doesn't seem like the American people are very much in lockstep on the matter of holding them accountable either. Lots of us want to, but what is that amounting to in terms of real action? So far, not much. I hope that it does. I genuinely think that every person who is indicated for criminal activity in the Epstein files should be prosecuted to the highest degree. I think you should fucking throw the book at them. Because I think it's long past time that we stop pussyfooting around white-collar crime. And we stop allowing the fucking capitalist class to exploit us in ways that are fundamentally unhuman. Just completely inhuman types of shit. What was your relationship like with your father? Certainly better than it was when I was a kid. We have a lot of, like, I would say, long and nuanced political conversations these days that I would have never seen possible when I was like 14, so that's good. I guess my parents' 10-year divorce had some kind of good effect. What's your favorite type of music? Folk punk. Folk punk. Yeah, Domus Real. Siding with a country that forces the women to have no rights because he blah, 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 blah. That's not how this works. I'm not siding with the government of Iran because I recognize that the United States and Israel are engaging in an illegal, aggressive, and unnecessary conflict. That's not me siding with them. You need to stop seeing everything in your life as some kind of sports game, okay? You're not sitting in front of the TV drinking beer and watching football right now, motherfucker. You're talking to a political streamer. Try to have a brain in your head, please. By the way, if you support this stream, please consider signing up for a membership, super chatting, or donating via Cash App. You can find that down below in the description. And in a few minutes, I think we might turn on members only mode. We'll see how I feel. Not for like viewing, but for chat. Donald Trump is not an Israeli plant. Donald Trump is just easily manipulated by Israel. I really hate this shit. Like, dude, Israel is a fucked up genocidal nation that does have a manipulative effect on American politics and has increased that in the last 30 years. But that's as far as it goes. They don't own this country. I won't be able to chat then, sadly. I don't got my right. Well, you know, we might not, we might. We'll see how I feel. Epstein was Mossad and had so much dirt on Trump. Well, yeah, that I can believe. I don't even know if Epstein was actually Mossad or if he just ended up getting, like, you realize it's just as possible for Epstein to have actually been, like, willingly working with Mossad as that he was coerced into working with them because that's one of like Mossad's favorite tactics, right? Like, and I'm not saying that that would make it morally better or whatever. I'm just saying that we don't even know if it was like a willing association on the part of Epstein. It may be that he was just coerced into doing that after his crimes started to come to light. But I definitely think that he was, like, you can tell just looking at the Epstein files that he was deeply involved with Israeli intelligence and Israeli spy orgs. So it's not a far step from that to assume that he was probably doing some kind of freelance compromat gathering for the state of Israel. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. I think that he was probably selling information to Mossad, but I don't know that he was like getting paid by them or whatever. I doubt, well, I mean, he was probably getting paid by them if he was selling them information, obviously, but I don't think he was getting like, I don't think he was out there and doing what he was doing because of Mossad. I think that Mossad just probably, like any, seditious ass fucking spy organization, is constantly working to do whatever they can to increase the ties and good relationships they have with rich and powerful people that know a lot. At the very least, he was an asset. Yeah, that I can believe. Yeah, maybe asset. Yeah. I fully expected it to be expensive, but I also don't think I've ever liked a political stream, but I like this one. Aw, yay! I'm actually really glad you decided to do that. You know what? Just for you. I actually had enough money on my card. That is so awesome. I'm so happy. You know what? Just for you, we're going to go ahead and turn to members only mode. Look at that. And you'll get to see what it's like over here in the cool kid zone. And if anybody else wants to sign up, they're literally so cheap. It is so cheap to help propel my channel for another month forward. $2.20 a month or something like that after tax and fees for the lowest tier. And that enables you to chat in here right now. This place got heated seats and everything. I know, right? Isn't it comfy? Nice in here. Climate controlled. Okay, thank you. See? Isn't this nice? Isn't this good? Welcome everybody. Yay. But yeah, I cannot believe that there are still people making defenses for this Iran war with as many people oppose it as there are now, as many people recognize the problems as we have, and yet there's still, to this day, right now, still people that are trying to defend America and Israel's involvement in this as if it was necessary or morally righteous, when it's like obvious to so many people that it's not. Even if you ragamuffins are no good, dirty commies. I know, right? We're just terrible. It tends to be pretty chill once the Jesus bots get tuckered out and go happy boo too. Yeah, that's true. After the Jesus bots and the like conservative spam bots and people like that get sick and tired of their bullshit, like it gets so much better. And look at this. I'll even turn off slow mode so that you guys don't have to wait 30 seconds between messages. Because you all are members. You shouldn't have to wait. Less chaotic, my brain is less like a madhouse now. I know, right? It makes the thoughts a lot easier to organize and makes the conversation a lot easier to follow. My only hope is that a couple of the interesting trolls will go ahead and sign up for the membership so they can continue talking, and maybe we can see if they've got anything interesting to say. But we'll see. I really do love the members only chats though, because I feel like they can be sometimes the best sections of the stream. Sometimes they are a little boring because sometimes there's not a lot of people that are able to talk, and so I kind of have to entertain myself, and sometimes that's kind of hard, but usually they're really fun. I would say I usually like doing them. They're very good. They're very good. They're very good. I'm just here to plague y'all with my existence. Nice. I can get behind that. Yeah, sorry I told someone to shut the fuck up. Oh, don't be sorry. We tell them that all the time around here. It's all part of the magic, unfortunately. If we didn't open the floodgates to the shitbags, we wouldn't get found by most of the pleasant folks that stick around. Yeah, that's basically how it works. That's like the niche I operate within. So that's why I tend to do things the way I do, and why I make my membership so cheap, and why I enable members only chat when I do, because I let basically like the first hour or so of a stream be widely publicly accessible, and anybody can watch it and anybody can chat. Sometimes I'll do like a 1 minute subscriber mode, and then slow mode, just to make it so that I can bam spam bots. But like after that, I usually turn it to members only mode. Sometimes I'll do it even earlier than an hour in, like tonight. And that is to give the people that are cool an opportunity to have interesting conversations unhindered by trolls and time wasters. That's true, Nanbot. Nanbot knows. Nanbot's been around for a while now. Yeah. I'm getting up on the... I'm getting very close to like a 1-year anniversary with a ton of my different members and like regulars and stuff, and that just makes me feel awesome, honestly. The fact that there are like there's a good solid group of almost like 1,000 people at this point that very, very regularly watch my shit and have been doing so for like a year, and that is just so fucking cool to me. Wondering where all the blues are tonight? I know, right? It's like, maybe, you know what? Maybe a lot of the members are asleep because they probably had, you know what? Members of the Phoebe Ophi channel, they fuck. So, they were probably out there partying and having a good time and fucking some hot dudes or some hot ladies or some hot non-binary pals. And, you know what? They're sleeping it off. And that's fine. We can't fault them for that. I like the stream. Looking forward to watching the stream regularly. You say that now. Wait till the next time I blow up on chat because someone defends landlords. Ah, dang it. When do I get my fuck? Well, it's coming in the mail. You just have to wait around for it. Hi, remember the past stream where you called me a Discord rando? I'll never forget that insult. No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember that. I'm sorry, wardens. I can neither confirm nor deny. See what I mean? Landlords are shit. Ah, yes. We're gonna get along great. It'll be awesome. Life outside is so beautiful. I wish I lived in a more beautiful place. I feel like I live in a place that's reasonably pretty, but I feel like it could be so much prettier. Me, you, Matt, and Xena. Oh, okay. I think I vaguely remember this. Well, I was, I was trying to get your dander up, if I remember correctly. I think I might have been trolling a bit on that one. The South is beautiful, you take that back? The South is beautiful in plenty of places. It's just not that beautiful where I'm at. I mean, it is. Honestly, there are places that are just breathtaking that are not that far from where I live. I just feel like the individual fucking plot that I live on is not that pretty, but I don't know, maybe there's stuff I could do to ameliorate that. I feel like this property has kind of been trashy since I was a kid, and I want to fix that. But we also don't own, like, a pickup truck or anything, so it's like we've got a car and shit. There's only so much garbage you can haul at once in a car. I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking at this point. Oh, I just noticed the cat. Yeah. I have to push her off sometimes when I want to smoke, though. You just need a good hard acid trip to remember how beautiful it is. Or a very mild DMT trip. Maybe. I feel like a DMT trip and just like the slightest wrong headspace in this environment might make me hate it even worse, but I could see an acid trip having good effects. Definitely. I could see me like having a nice heroic hit of acid and having a nice long trip and then maybe kind of falling back in love with elements of it. But honestly, it's just like it's one of those things that if I just put some effort into it consistently, I could probably get a lot of it fixed up and looking somewhat nice. It's never going to be perfect, but honestly, it could look a lot better than it does if I like just tried to like, okay, for example, there's this junk pile on a certain part of the property that was not there when I was a kid, but is definitely like an uglifying feature of the back kind of area. And it would be so easy for me to move all the bullshit that's back there and get rid of it and at least move it to the main like junk pile. And then I keep thinking about the idea of borrowing a truck or eventually maybe buying some used pickup and a lot of the stuff that is like laying around making it kind of sad looking, a lot of it's metal. It's not like valuable metal. A lot of it's metal in some fashion. Could probably be scrapped. But, you know, even then, it's still like the fact that I live in kind of the bottom of a valley and shit is also contributing to it. But it's also the fact that I don't live in a very hilly area and topographical relief is a lot for me. I don't know why. But there's just something, to me, there's something really magical about being able to sit somewhere and look outside and see the mountains. I don't know why, but there's just something to me that calls out for that. And no matter how beautiful I get things looking around here, which I hopefully will do, it's still not going to change the fact that I'm going to live in what are basically flatlands. I'm so tired of where I live. I've lived around here my whole life, so I know everything about this shit town, sadly. Can you tell me roundabout where like, or what state are we talking about at least? I am a Christian. I believe in Christ, but I do not go to church. I think church has been perverted. People don't go to church to worship God anymore. The church is now for the people in the ego. I think it's not just for the people in the ego, but it's also for money, which I guess is a way for it to be about the people, but it's not exactly the people. It's the pastors. U.S. expects Iran to ensure safe oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz. Ooh. Interesting headline I saw. Interesting. U.S. expects Iran to ensure safe oil flow through Strait of Hormuz. Vance. Interesting. Woodstock, Virginia. Ah, yes. I don't know much about Woodstock in particular, but I do know that Virginia is not a very nice state outside of D.C., from what I understand. I gotta tell you, there is a rot, and you'll know what I'm talking about immediately, because I don't know, but I have to imagine the way you're talking about it, that you're not far from the Appalachians. And so you're not far from that kind of Appalachian poverty that I'm about to describe. That is, like, everybody describes it as Appalachian poverty, but I don't really understand why, because it's basically become the standard across so much of the United States. It's spread like a cancer, west and east. There is a growing disease of poverty in America, caused by the utter destitution of the working class by the billionaires, and corporations they own and control. And it has left in its wake an absolutely tragic mess of abandoned trailers, vacant homes, boarded up businesses and buildings, sidewalks that are cracked up and dysfunctional, roads with giant, nigh on unrepairable potholes, curbs that no longer effectively funnel water or allow for effective snow removal, forgotten communities, whole swaths of them, rural and urban both. And this is not a city versus countryside problem. Maybe it was at one point, but I would argue that it's always been like this. We're just more aware of it now, and so the narratives are starting to break down. And you know what? I actually don't know if it was always this true, because I don't know if it was actually always this true, because there was a certain time in which, in America, if you lived out somewhere rural, it meant you were probably making a living as a farmer, or at least supplementing a lot of your living with gardening or the raising of livestock or something. And people that lived that life were, for the most part, secure. But at this point, so much of that has rotted away, been industrialized and automated to fuck. So much of it has been corporatized, sent overseas, done away with in so many different ways, that there are tons of people, some of whom have inherited their properties, some of whom are living in the rundown inherited properties of others, living out in the country with no prospects, in dilapidated homes. If they've got clean water, it's just a miracle of their geography. And this sort of poverty is usually described as an Appalachian problem, but I'm sorry, I've been all over this country. It's ubiquitous. It's just not as common in... It's honestly ironic because it's just not as common in big cities. It's not as common in really big cities. And in places that, like, there are pockets where this isn't true, and there are tons of people that live in those pockets, and those pockets, like, I think have an undue effect on the perception of the widespread reality of poverty in this country. So many people think of, like, first world people and Americans and shit like that, and they're like, oh, yes, those people living over in New York City, and it's like, that's not the average American, man. You know, like, I don't know. You look at the amount of people that are living under the poverty line, it's insane. You look at the amount of people that are living right at the poverty line, it's even more insane. And then you realize that the poverty line is about 40 grand fucking short of where it should be. And you realize that, like, fucking half the country is living under the fucking poverty line. And then you think about what that actually means in their lives, and you start to get, like, a feel for the problem. But if you don't have a feel for it, just, like, find your county and look up what the absolute poorest city, town, or census-designated area is. Or census-designated place. Find out what the poorest fucking little shithole in your county is, and drive out there. Park somewhere public, and just walk around for a bit. Take it in. And then you'll start to get a sense for the type of just desperate, destitute poverty that people are some fucking now living through. And so many people don't even really consider it a problem, because we've just been trained to accept lower and lower and lower standards. Personally, I don't operate like that. I will tell you what I believe in the United States. Oh, you guys are talking about something else. Appalachia is rich in resources, but years of exploitation in the geography has left the region underfunded and isolated. Yes, 100%. And I think honestly, Wardens, that's why the Appalachians gets like so much special notice when it comes to discussions of systemic poverty in America, versus some other places that have really bad systemic poverty that don't get as much attention. Like if you look at New Orleans, Louisiana, for example, that's a place that has really, really, really bad systemic poverty. But I think the reason why the Deep South and like the coastal South and shit doesn't get nearly as much attention in discussions of systemic poverty and stuff is because when it comes to, well, honestly, part of it might be racism, but I think it's partly racism and partly the fact that when it comes to class striation and the decay of industrial, or like the decay of the middle class and the like death of the American dream and the ability of people to support themselves effectively out in West Virginia or any other part of the Appalachians, when it comes to those problems, the victims are very obvious, the perpetrators are very obvious, and it's like culturally acceptable both to mourn the victims and to blame the perpetrators. And the problems are all clearly identifiable, right? With the kind of poverty that is affecting Appalachia and the reasons for its poverty, you can describe it in one simple sentence, like Appalachia is rich in resources, but years of exploitation in geography has left the region underfunded and isolated, which are problems that you can work around. Like, those are problems that we could solve, and they're problems that are pretty simple to discuss, and I have no doubt that Appalachian poverty is probably going to be addressed in the next 10 years. I just wonder, will it be addressed with universal systems that also like help out everybody else? Or is it going to have to be addressed by local communities and state efforts and stuff along the, eastern spine of the country that help to make that a reality? Fuck, man, it seems like it might just end up being the latter with how things have been going over the last 20 years. And I hate that. I'm from Appalachia, it's very rough there. Yeah, no, I know it's rough there. I'm not saying it's not rough there. My whole point is that it is rough there, but it's rough there for reasons which are relatively easy to identify, talk about, and discuss, right? Whereas when it comes to a lot of poverty in the rest of the United States, the reasons can get a lot more complicated. And in some cases, the reasons interfere with some things that people like to think about America. For example, the reason why the Deep South is in such critical poverty, one of the reasons why it's always been in such critical poverty basically since the fucking end of the Civil War, is because their entire economy was based on slaves. And they did very little to develop their infrastructure or anything until after the market for slaves went away, and the market for slave labor, basically, and goods produced with slave labor went away. After they could no longer own slaves, the South finally started to do what it probably should have been doing all the fucking time, which is building up infrastructure, transitioning to an industrial model, shit like that. But they didn't want to do that because the agrarian planter class in the Deep South benefited immensely from living their effectively pre-industrial, slave-driven life. Slave-powered life, basically. So, after that went away, then finally they had to start developing roads and shit. Roads and seaports that could handle more than just whatever basic agrarian products they were going to produce. But by that time, it was already too late. Other parts of the country had already had that kind of thing set up, in some cases for 100 years before the first such institutions and factories and things like that were ever set up in the Deep South. And that left people with a real deficit in the economy. Not that it was a bad thing. Fucking Southerners deserve their fucking destitution as far as I'm concerned, but it was something that the planter class of the South was not willing to. They were not willing to forego any of their great wealth to help undo some of the wrongs that they had done. They didn't give a shit. The planter class came out just fine after slavery ended. They just converted some of them, sold and moved off somewhere else to just retire and, live a simple life out west or whatever. Some of them stuck around and simply converted their operations to sharecropping operations, which is what a lot of them did. And many of them continued to hold power. Many of them continued to produce agricultural goods for decades afterwards, just under a somewhat different fucking economic system. Sure, but I don't sit around wishing that my Christian friends would stop being Christian for their own good. I mean, I can imagine an instance where you might, Like, if someone's erroneous and only based in faith belief in Christianity was making them treat someone in a bad way or making them hurt themselves in some way, I would hope that even privately you might want them to stop being Christian for their own good. I don't know. I could see instances where it might be logical to want such a thing, and maybe even empathetic to do so. Doesn't necessarily mean you'd harangue them about it, but maybe you might sit around thinking it as they're telling you the latest of their revelations from the divine. Then again, there are some people that genuinely claim to be getting messages from God, or messages from some other shady fuck out there, whose messages apparently are nice and tell them to do good things. So, I don't know. Like, Gail Cord Schuler, for example. If you look into her, I can't remember if it's messages from God or messages from Brent Spiner, but it's somebody that she genuinely believes that entity talks to her and gives her instructions and stuff, and that it's like advice that she needs to take. But it's like stuff that helps her. It's like, she needs to take her meds on time, and she needs to go for a mile-long walk every day, and stuff like that. Good stuff for an old lady to remember. Which almost makes me wonder if maybe she doesn't have like a home healthcare person that looks like Brent Spiner, maybe, that has figured out how to use some of her delusions in order to help her. That girl has spiritual psychosis. Yeah, but she's harmless. Gail's fine. Gail's sweet. Gail's sweet, and you know what? Sometimes she's a good cook. Sometimes, not so much. Sometimes, every so often, Gail comes up with some stuff I'm just like, I don't know about that. Let's just see. Can I find any Gail cooking videos? Ah! Cooking with Gail. Yes! Yay! Okay, so let's see. Greek chicken gyros.
Prepping my ingredients to make the dough for my whole wheat flatbread pita bread. I already pre-measured the flour. It's
Oh, that sounds like it's gonna take forever, dude. What the hell? Gail, just get you a big enough container for the flour and then just like knock it on the side and then do the knife. It's fine. You're fine, honey.
Right now, I'm trying to get the liquids to lukewarm. I made this a little bit too warm. I don't want to kill the yeast. This one,
Oh.
put in the microwave, maybe.
Damn. Gail is making a yeasted pita bread.
Let's try 25. I whisk it all together.
Let's see. Let's put it on 2x speed.
It smells good. All right. Now what we're going to do is let it sit for about 10 minutes until it's frothy.
Okay. Skip past.
I need it in here because I don't have a big kitchen like you said. I just kind of flip it around, go like that. Yep, it's looking good. I think in about 5 minutes we're going to be done. Yeah. Okay, the dough is frosted. Slightly less when I press down, it bounces right
Yeah, she's got an alright kneading technique.
yeah, it's kind of hard to get.
She doesn't have a very good camera holding technique. Okay, let's get a little further in this. Because I want to see what this tzatziki sauce looks like. Or is this the marinade for the chicken? Oh, damn, Gail's going all out. Oh, shit. Alright, yep, I want this. Damn, Gail. You really be making shit, huh? Damn. Let's see what this finally looks like. What does this look like in the end? You better show me this. Oh my god, you guys have to see this. This looks genuinely like this is the best thing I've ever seen on Gail's channel. Like, this is actually yummy. What the fuck? This has no right to be looking this good. This has absolutely no right to be looking this good. From Brent Spiner's Stalker? No way. Okay. No fucking way. She's even using a mortar and pestle to do it. Okay, so I'm going to put her on like 1.5 and then we'll watch it together.
I know why they're saying great, because that's going to put more of the garlic flavor into the meat. I happen to love the flavor of garlic. I've really taken a liking to Greek and Italian cuisine lately. So I'm going to go ahead and grate this. Yeah, that'll work. All right, let me go.
Gail is right, by the way. Grating garlic is way better than pretty much any other way you can get the garlic, unless you've got like a garlic press or something.
Let's do that. Okay. I grated as much as I could without harming my fingers. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and mince this part here and throw it in with the grated garlic and that way I don't waste my garlic. Yeah, this will work. It's kind of grated already anyway, right?
So did you not grate it?
Throw it in with the grated garlic and okay. I grated as much as I could without harming my fingers. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and mince.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she grated as much as she could without hurting her fingers. She's just gonna mince the rest up. That makes sense.
That way I don't waste my garlic. Yeah, this will work. It's kind of grated already anyway, right? Well, the chicken needs to marinate for at least an hour. I'm debating on whether I already have the bread, the pita bread in the refrigerator.
Let's see. Let's see if I can get this chicken marinade on cam. Where's this chicken marinade?
Somebody doesn't like my cooking. Kind of do like I did with the dough. Actually looks kind of right. See, I'm just gonna go like this. Okay. All right, there.
No. I want to see the chicken. Where's the chicken, Gail? Chicken. Gail, where is the chicken? Is she not going to show the chicken?
So now, let's go ahead and work on the dry spices. A tablespoon dried crushed oregano, so let's make that 1 3/4. And I've got my little pressure here. 1 3/4. Put that there.
See, she's got a mortar and pestle.
Okay, let's make that. We're going to make that maybe like, not quite a full tablespoon. Maybe about 3/4 of it. All right. That's the decoration, but I actually use it. It's just that I... Okay. Now let me wrap it up. I don't like too much salt.
Okay, so here we go. I think these are chicken thighs.
I need to have a garbage can here. Hold on. For the lemon juice, now it says a quarter cup. Like I said, I don't have quite 2 pounds, so we're gonna go down. Quarter cup. Let's go to.
What on earth is that?
That's good. Lemon juice.
Oh, lemon juice.
I definitely don't want to drown in an oil, though. I have learned from cooking experience that a little bit of oil. Chicken's been kind of dry lately because this may not be from a real bird. It might be something like nanogenetically constructed.
Oh, Gail. Never change. Did you guys just hear that shit?
Chicken's been kind of dry lately because this may not be from a real bird. It might be something like nanogenetically constructed.
This chicken might be kind of dry, because the chicken's been kind of dry lately, because this chicken might not be from a real bird. It might be from something that's been nanogenetically originated. Did I just...
Chicken's been kind of dry lately because this may not be from a real bird. It might be something like nanogenetically constructed.
Constructed. Cool, okay.
That's good enough. I actually put in.
I love, though, you know what? You can tell that Gail, like, believes it, but doesn't think it affects much, right? I love Gail, I think, for that reason. Because she apparently does have lots of delusional ideas, but it doesn't actually seem to affect what she does in reality very much. You know, like, because in her mind, that chicken, clearly the chicken is just, you know, they've switched to artificial birds. But she's like, all right, just gonna pour the olive oil in, keep spicing, you know? Like, she's unbothered by it. And I love that about Gail. Well, yeah, I know chicken is a type of bird, but, like, that's what I'm saying. Gail seems to think that they just switched to artificial birds recently. They're not using real chickens anymore. They're using fake chickens. They're, like, nanogenetically constructed. Apparently. Gail is interesting, dude. Gail is endlessly fascinating to me. Let's watch some more of this.
I just don't want to be back for you. There's enough here to do the job, okay? This is high quality oil, too. This is the Partana Organic Extra Virgin. I happen to have it, so I'll give you anyway. Extra Virgin Olive Oil from Sicily. Greek recipe that I can use Italian oil. Alrighty. Add the grated garlic on top. Add the grated garlic. Here we go.
Oh, that's gonna be so
Add the
good.
grated garlic on top. I love garlic, so I'm actually using a little bit more. And all of the dry spices. Here we go. Toss well to coat. Oh.
No, you gotta get in there with your fingers.
Let me go ahead and work on that. Okay. My alarm went off to tell me to take my Zyrtec. Now, let's go ahead and get this nice.
You gotta do that with your fingers. Girl, put that damn spoon down. You no. That's not how this works. No, that's not. You gotta. Gail. Girl, that spoon is gonna catch so much of the spices and it's gonna make big hillocks in the chicken. You gotta get in there with your fingers and really, you know, touch the chicken with your hands. Exactly. Wash first. Wash up to your elbows. Wash good, and then get in there. I do like the amount of seasonings that she put in it, though.
And after this, I'll make my homemade tzatziki sauce. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna have this for.
It is partially true that chicken may not be entirely organic as some have been engineered artificially, as most foods in America are incredibly processed in all kinds of weird ways. Well, that may be true, but the way that they are, like, are engineered artificially is not by, like, the making of nanogenetic constructed chickens. It's just like there's been a ton, number one, of natural selection done in chickens, and that's the vast majority of it that's happened. Like, the idea of chickens needing to be like specifically genetically modified for you to be able to raise them so big that they so basically, here's the engineering that's gone into modern commercial, what you call broiler chickens. Modern commercial broiler chickens have been bred over the last 100 years to be basically as productive in growing their breast muscle mainly, but there are some other muscles in tandem, as quickly as possible and as big as possible for the market, basically. And so if you get a chicken like that is one of those breeds that is like a commercial chicken breed that is designed to be killed off at like 8 weeks old or like 12 weeks old or something like that, and you try and keep it to a full-grown adulthood, you end up with these massive chickens that are unable to like walk themselves around sometimes. Sometimes their breasts literally get so fucking huge that they literally are incapable of walking. It also create like some of the conditions that you ever heard of woody chicken? Another one of the problems that can sometimes occur with these big commercial breeds and tandem with the conditions that they're kept in sometimes. It's just awful. Awful stuff, really. But it's not... It's awful by virtue of the conditions we're keeping these animals in and the conditions we're subjecting them to for the purposes of getting an ever larger breast. It's not evil because they're lying to us about what's in our food. They're not. It is real chicken. It's just real chicken produced unethically on unethical farms for the most part. With birds that really shouldn't exist. And there are ways you can get chicken that is not that way. Like, not only can you raise your own chickens and pay someone to slaughter them and make you that meat, but you can also find farms all over this great country that are ethical, that show how their farms are done, that show how their operation is. Like, at some point, I would love to, if I'm ever in the area, I would love to get some chicken from Blackbird Co-op. Absolutely love to. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to, but I would love to. And I imagine you can find farms like that pretty much all over the country, with probably lesser degrees of popularity and publicity. I like all the seasoning. Me too. Let's see what happens after she gets done mixing this. Okay. I guess it doesn't look that bad, but I feel like she's probably bruising that meat with that spoon.
Dish because beef is very expensive right now, so I wanted to come up with a delicious way to eat boneless, skinless chicken thighs because they're really easy to find around here. And I happen to love Greek and Italian cuisine.
You know what? That is starting to make a lot of sense. Why so many recipes have that? You know, like that makes a lot of sense because it is a cheap meat. Ooh, okay.
Go ahead and dice the cucumber, and then I'll put that in a separate container. Get off.
What are you gonna do?
I can kind of like use this to stuff my pizza tomorrow. Yeah. I'm gonna be eating it too. Okay. So you see what I'm doing here? Actually, yeah. If worse comes to worse and I have more than I need, I can always throw it into a salad. You know, it'll work. I'm guessing on this.
Yeah, we got cucumber and onion. So far, I think we're making the tzatziki. And this is the yogurt.
There we go. Alrighty. Now, not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might just throw it in myself. A quarter teaspoon garlic powder. I happen to
Yes, Gail. I love the amount of garlic she puts in stuff.
Okay. There it is, ready for tomorrow. I taste
Nice.
it. Yum. Yeah. I've made this before. It only tastes good if everything is from scratch. I have to make my own tzatziki sauce, my own pita bread, and then it's great. So I will continue this tomorrow. Okay, I've got my chicken here ready to grill. I'm going to let the meat come to room temperature before I put it in the broiler oven. I'm preheating the oven on broil. I especially ordered this cookware just for this recipe. This cookware is all stainless steel and it can withstand broiler temperatures. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and start making the pita bread. Okay. This is going to be like perfect. Lightly floured is what the recipe says. You know what? I think I should have let this cool down to room temperature. I might be ruining my...
You mean warm up?
Yeah, that's what they recommended with the pizza dough. You know what? I think I need to turn everything off and go take a shower. Yeah. Do this later. Because I remember I'm using cold dough here. Probably can't see what I'm doing. I'm using cold dough here, and I think that's going to end up being a problem. Yeah. Uh-huh. What I could do, though, I know exactly what I could do. Yeah, I probably want to leave this out.
Yeah, just leave it out. Just leave it out, Gail. Go take a shower.
I know. Turn off all my... Okay. I think I'm going to cook the chicken first.
No, you should definitely make the pitas first.
Halfway through...
I don't know why she's not going to make the pitas first. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. The inches in diameter, right? I could use the... Now, you don't want to roll pizza dough, but for pita bread, I think that'll work. How deep would you say?
You can roll pizza dough, Gail. I don't know what you're talking about. I roll pizza dough. What is she talking about? You can't roll pizza dough.
Once I roll it out, I'm going to put it on that wax paper over there, because I'll be baking it on a cast iron skillet.
She's got a very small rolling pin.
Yeah, I probably should have let it warm up a little bit more. It's behaving like...
Ah, that's a big enough pita. Yeah, she's making a good pita.
I could try the trick with the bowl.
You're incredibly well educated, and I'm grateful you're able to teach me all this stuff about unethically sourced chicken. Oh, well, hell yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I took an ag science class when I was in high school, but I've also just kind of like grown up on farms and been generally interested in them since childhood. And I care a lot about the ethics of what we as a society do. I think it reflects on us. I think when we make the wrong decision and do bad things, that it hurts our spirit in a sense. But, yeah. I'm glad you were able to find some use in it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the last part where we finally get the pita assembly.
Actually, let's put that. Before I wanted to get... Well, let's play around. The bread is all done. Let me just go ahead.
Oh, our chicken looks good. See? Chicken looks good. You know, I assumed those were chicken thighs, but maybe they weren't, because it doesn't kind of doesn't look like them. But they had to be chicken thighs, because that's what they look like. I don't know. Who knows? Her pitas turned out nice, though. They look good.
I might end up having to freeze this bread. Yeah. It's kind of like assembling a big taco.
It is basically just a big Greek taco. You're right. You're so right, Gail. You know this shit. Now she's putting the tzatziki on.
Yeah. I have a feeling I'm gonna end up freezing her. Yeah.
Now she's putting some red onions on. Okay. That is a lot of tzatziki on there, I will say that much. Some lettuce.
And some fresh tomatoes.
Hell yeah. Go, Gail.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh my god, that dude. This pita looks so goddamn good. God, that looks so good. Man, I want a pita now. I want a euro. Now she's putting even more tzatziki on it. Gail, that's too much tzatziki. That thing is swimming in tzatziki. That thing is swimming in tzatziki sauce. Oh my god, you can tell it's swimming in tzatziki sauce because she was like, that's better. Oh, hurry up and pass, you old bat. Oh, Lord. Honk some more, why don't you? Online grandma, give me food, please. I know, right? I know. I just want to be like, Gail, can I have some food? Can I come over for dinner? Is it bad that I want Gail to make me dinner? No, that can't be bad. It can't be bad to want someone to make you food. Not because you want them to be servile to you, but just because you want their yummy cooking. That can't be wrong. I love it when other people cook for me. Not like, and I don't even know if it's like the act of service or if it. I think it's like because I look at cooking, and I don't know if everybody else looks at it this way, but I look at cooking as kind of like an insight into the soul. I like to think that I try and put as much of myself into my cooking as I can, if that makes sense, and as much of my spirit into that as I possibly can. And I think that there's a lot of other people who are that same way. It's just nice to think about. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in 3 months. Girl! No! That's awful. Oh my god. What? Last time I was that badly off, I was living on the road. Living in a minivan. Yeah, I only had that meal because I cooked for my boyfriend. I'm guessing it has been incredibly busy around your house or that something is going on because that is just untenable. Oh my god. I can handle not eating home-cooked food for a good long while, especially if I'm on the road. But if I'm somewhere for like 3 or 4 days and I'm like not just planning on leaving or whatever, like if I get settled somewhere, it is not long before I'm like, alright, I really want to figure out how to cook something. Even at Rainbow, I'm that way. It's one of the reasons why next time I go to Rainbow, I want to be able to go with enough money and supplies to be able to do a kitchen. Recruit a bunch of people and be like, hey, I got food that I'ma share with everybody. But I gotta have volunteers. Mm. I'm just really broke. That's valid. Fucking sucks though. I remember when I first moved back down here to Mississippi, I was working at Taco Bell for the longest time, and so there was a good long while where basically most of what I subsisted on day to day was like Taco Bell food. Not the height of my time, I will tell you. Of course, then again, there was also another time when I was living in, the first time I ever moved out, I started working at this place. I started working at Sonic, and I was living with two other girls, and this was before I had even come out as trans, but, you know, it was probably pretty obvious by that point anyway. And I lived with two other girls, and we all worked at the same ass Sonic. It was insane. It was like a sitcom. And we basically fed ourselves on Sonic food for the first like 2 or 3 months. It was great. I would make stuff occasionally when I had the money to buy ingredients and stuff, but that didn't really become like a regular thing until I was there for like 4 or 5 months. And then finally at that point I started making home cooked meals regularly. I would volunteer if I was around there. Wait, I'm fucking absent-minded as shit. Volunteer for what? I'm confused. Man, dude, I tell you what, watching Gail make that just really makes me want it so bad. I'm a decent cook, I promise. You said like the rainbow thing? Oh, okay, I got you. Now I get you. My bad. I got short-term memory too. I worked at Taco Bell in high school. It was so understaffed. I had to work crazy hours, illegal hours. There ended up being a lawsuit I was paid $100 from or something. Oh, that's cool. Kind of. Not cool that you got, fucked over with that, but cool that you got a payout from it, and so rarely happens. I too had just tacos for lunch and dinner for like a year. Yep. Oh man, we relate. We relate to the struggle. At my store, you could get basically anything if it was under $7, I think. So I would usually get a chalupa. And at first, it just started because I really liked the chalupas. It was my favorite thing at Taco Bell. And then I started kind of realizing that the main reason that I really liked the chalupas was because they were like pretty high calorie compared to the tacos. Like a regular corn taco shell doesn't have as many calories in it as one of the little 6-inch pita breads that they serve the chalupas in. So it just feels like you're eating something a lot more substantial. Sauce that thing up with, usually I would do 1 mild, 2 hot, and 1 fire. Sometimes I'd vary it up. Sometimes I'd do like 1 mild, 2 hot, 1 Diablo. In the olden golden days. Phoebe, if you can wait 30, 40 minutes, I can come on and talk if you like. I'm probably going to be getting off here pretty soon, to be honest. I might end up staying up later, I don't know. I just ate/worked at a shit diner for 3 years on and off. That tracks. I think I probably would have preferred diner food to the... Because I tell you what, I also used to work at a seafood restaurant when I was much younger. And I preferred working at the seafood restaurant to, like, when I worked at Pizza Hut and shit before that. Because at least at the seafood restaurant I worked at, we pretty much had, like, an open policy for employee food. Now, eventually, some people started taking it way over the line. And, like, they would make themselves, like, a chicken Alfredo for lunch. And then make themselves one for dinner to take home with them. And it was just getting absurd, so they had to put limits on it last time I worked there. I worked there 3 different times. But the first time I worked there was no limits. You could make yourself whatever the fuck you wanted on the menu except the crab legs for lunch. And, you know, sometimes you weren't actually given an opportunity to eat it, and you just kind of had to, like, wait until a spare moment when, you know, like, everybody else is taking a smoke and the door's open, so you can just kind of sit there and eat your chicken and your fries or whatever. But yeah. That job, I actually find myself kind of missing that particular feature of it, because they had really, really good fried chicken for a seafood place. Like, supremely good fried chicken. They would marinate it overnight in the fridge in, like, this mixture of flour and spices and a bunch of water. And all those spices and shit would go to work on it, and that flour would kind of help to make a dredge that it would be breaded in. With it all refrigerated and cold like that, it would... all the breading would stick pretty good. And then after it gets deep fried, it's just, oh, perfect. Just so fucking good. Especially if decent people have been prepping recently. That was another reason why I like their chicken, though, is because you could honestly tell when someone competent had prepped it and when someone incompetent had, which tells you the, you know, human hand on the goods. Because, like, the way I was taught to prep chicken at that restaurant was to, like, cut certain things off the breast that would make it unappealing to a customer. And I got to where I could do it pretty quickly, cutting off any weird little fat or tendon or whatever that might still be attached, and leaving you with, you know, out of one solid breast, I would cut it down the middle and then trim off any, well, I'd cut off any weird parts first, like greasy parts or tissue that's going to fry up into something hard or anything like that, and then cut it down the middle. You got 2 tenders. To this day, my family says I have really good fried chicken, and I attribute it to my experience at that restaurant because that's where I mastered the art of it. And to this day, when I go to that restaurant, I can tell when someone good has been in the back and when somebody bad has been in the back. Yeah, the diner food wasn't free. We got 50% off if we ate there. If we took it home, it was only 10% off. God damn. That's awful. See, at Taco Bell, if you wanted to get something more than $7, you could, and you could just apply the employee discount. And I think eventually at my store they changed it to where you could apply up to $7 towards your employee discounted purchase. So it's like basically you get $7 worth of credit. So you can go over that, but you just have to pay the difference. And maybe that's not a policy everywhere, but it was at my store. And it worked out. Because if I didn't get a lunch when I was there, sometimes I wanted to get something more substantive when I left. I can't eat 7-layer bean dip anymore because I tried to use it to get some shrooms down once. Just instant gag town now. Oh no. Dude, I've never thrown up or gagged while trying to eat mushrooms, but I have eaten mushrooms under some pretty unrewarding circumstances. The worst mushroom accompaniment I ever had in my life was honestly Reese's peanut butter cups. Because somebody needed a shirt really badly, and I was wearing a long sleeve shirt, and they were really cold, and they were very skinny, and they were willing to trade acid for a long sleeve shirt, and they also had some Reese's cups that they were offering to trade along with it. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, you don't even have to give me nothing. I'll give you my shirt. Because I had my vest on over my shirt, so I was like, fuck it, the vest will keep me warm enough. I can make it until I get to somewhere where I've got more. And so I gave him my shirt, and he was like, oh, yeah, okay, bad. This is perfect. Oh, my God, this thing's so warm. This is amazing. Oh, I feel so much better. It was literally like completing a mission in an RPG or something, and he instantly started doling me out and my friend a couple of tabs and gave me the Reese's. Not tabs, sorry. But... you know, he gave us some mushrooms and gave me the Reese's, and I gave them a couple of the Reese's, and then I used the rest of the Reese's to try and get the mushrooms down. Which worked in a fashion. But it was very hard, and the taste and texture of the Reese's cups didn't do anything for the taste and texture of the mushrooms. Are mushrooms really that bad? I know they're growing cow shit. It's not that they taste bad, really. It's mainly, okay, number one, they don't taste good, okay? If it was just something that tasted a little bad, though, and you were able to chew it up quickly and swallow it, then I don't think anybody would have any problem with it. I think the reason why so many people react badly to mushrooms is because not only do they not taste good, but they also have a dry, leathery texture that I can only describe as literally chewing on dried up old shoe leather. It's very chewy. The texture is not like anything else you've ever eaten in your life, because there's just no other occasion where human beings regularly consume dried fungi. But honestly, the best way I found to do mushrooms is to grind them up. You need to have a grinder that you specifically just use for mushrooms and nothing else. But you grind up your mushrooms, get them real fine, to where they're just in small little things, you know, they're not big, and they're as much surface area as possible, small form. And then you have to get your water up to a certain, basically make tea with it. You get your water up to a certain temperature. You can't get it any hotter than that, or it'll denature the psilocybin, but you get it up to a certain temperature, let it cool off just a little past that, so that it's not, you know, you're in the safe zone. You make sure you test it again. Test it 3 times before you put your mushrooms in there, because you want to make absolutely sure that it is hot enough to steep them relatively quickly, but not hot enough to break down the psilocybin. So you put them in there. It's good to stir it as you're pouring them in there, because that'll help them get water on them more easily without as much of it going on the sides. And then if you can put it in a bottled container that you can actually shake it up, and you can get more coverage and more activity and make sure that nothing's sticking to the sides or whatever, that's even better. And then you just let that thing sit for as little as 20 minutes, but as much as an hour. And sometimes people will even make it the day before they're going to do it, and then let it, like chill out on their countertop until it reaches room temperature, and then let it chill out in the fridge. Because I believe psilocybin tea is shelf stable for a couple days. But yeah, you let it. You might want to Google that though before you take my word for it. But yeah, basically you just let it sit there for a little while, and after it's steeped long enough to where you can stand to drink it, or to where it's at least been a little while and it's had time to mix things up a bit, you shake it up one last time, and then, you want to drink all of the tea that you made, so you don't want to make too much. You want to make an amount of tea that you can conceive yourself drinking within an hour, basically. And also, you'll want to probably avoid decanting it into a container that has like a straw that you have to interface with it using, or something like that. Because if you do so, there's a good chance that some of your little mushroom bits are going to get stuck in your straw. You want to kind of have like open access, because there's going to be flakes, obviously. It's not like the mushroom just breaks down in the tea. But it's a lot more tolerable when you can just swallow it with a gulp of liquid. Or at least it is for me. So yeah. But if that doesn't sound palatable to you, if even that sounds like something you can't quite stomach, then you can always do the next best alternative, which is really making sure you fucking steep the fuck out of it and shake it up as much as you can before you do this. But you can filter the mushroom pieces out and just be left with your tea. The mushrooms are like, "We are poison, don't eat me." But humans are like, "Poison, no problem." Well, it's not even like poison, no problem. It's more like, poison? Huh, not for me, buddy. This shit gives me the craziest hallucinations I done saw. I hate certain textures. Can't blame you. Lots of people are that way. Maybe I gotta say, when you answer a question, you dissect it from every angle. I certainly try. I want the first time getting high to be with my cousin. That's not a bad goal. That's actually quite wholesome in my opinion. I like that. You got a cool family member. They seem like they'd be cool to get high with. You can't wait to do it. Yes. I wish sometimes that I could get back the joy of being a baby stoner. I really do. But there's just less joy in being a stoner alone in general. And I kind of know that at this point, and I'm comfortable with it. But I also kind of know that it's not exactly going to change much just because I take a tolerance break. Which I still regularly take tolerance breaks, but that's just, because I want to preserve my tolerance, not because I want to try and relive the glory days of being a baby stoner, because it's kind of like, you can never go home, like you can't be a baby stoner again. But sometimes I do wish that I could get back some of that magic. I feel like I'm constantly, though, reaching for that. I'm constantly thinking, yes. If only I could go back. If only I could go back. Or if only I could feel that magic again. And it all kind of, if you think about it, sounds like bad lines of thinking. Stuff that doesn't really make much sense. Man, I'm just reminded of fucking Gail's delicious... Gail, why do you have to make such delicious fucking food? Why? Why do you have to make such fucking delicious food? God, I'm so hungry. God, I'm so hungry. Apparently when I'm on anesthesia drugs, I just get tired. Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do on anesthesia drugs. You're supposed to get tired on anesthesiates. Anesthetizers. Robert. Robert. Gail makes an amazing Euro, Robert. I'm going to kill you. Marcus.
I want a Marcus plushie so bad.
Oh, God. I think they have them. Doesn't that streamer dude sell Marcus plushies? I think he does. I want one. I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one.
I hope it comes with the rock. The little plushie rock.
Yes. This is my rock.
I hate it. I'm here to talk you out of your hunger woes. You won't even remember to be hungry.
Yeah. I believe in magic, like Gail's delicious Euros. Boom, 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 boom. I believe in magic. Down, down, down. Oh my God, dude, I'm so fucking hungry.
I saw a little bit of your debate yesterday.
Oh,
Not all of it, but I saw like 2 hours of it.
what'd you think?
I think he had some good points, and you had some good points.
Oh, you centrist piece of shit.
Well,
I'm kidding.
I kind of figured you were probably just playing devil's advocate half the time.
Do what? Well, not necessarily devil's advocate, just like, well, kind of. Maybe it's a form of devil's advocacy, yeah, because part of my, like, let's just fucking go full out, fuck it, what if they do nuke us thing, is to make people realize that what is being proposed outside of diplomacy and escalation is no better than either of those two options, right? It's to make people seriously think about what options are going to be worth taking and how much fear is factoring into their mindset. So I guess it's devil's advocacy in a sense.
Right. Well, so
But I do think it would be more ethical for us to just go in full force than it would be for us to prolong this ad infinitum.
yeah, I just don't know how it would turn out in that case if that's what we decided to do. I'm not saying that they would like go desperado and use nukes, which they may or may not. I'm not sure. That's kind of a toss up.
And who knows how much of their nuclear infrastructure even fucking works. That's something I brought up to him, and all he basically had to say about it was, so you just want to test that? It's like, I'm saying, do we even need to consider it as a thing to be tested? Because pretty much every time the West has investigated Russian military capacity, it seems like they're struggling to keep up with even their modern munitions for land warfare, much less the advanced equipment that it would take to be able to actually launch a successful nuclear attack.
So your opinion, after the Ukraine war, they're in a weakened spot, so we should take advantage of it and just stop the war?
Yeah, basically. I think that most of Russia's history over the last 80 years has been them being disadvantaged in a number of ways. And, like there have been a lot of deprivations over that time, and a lot of things that the Russian people especially have had to suffer through, but I think it's left them in an immensely weakened position. As recently as the 1980s, Russia's military technology, like all of its meaningful military technology, was considered in shambles, dysfunctional, non-operational, basically. It's only been in the last 10, 20 years that we've really started to see this Cold War era rhetoric ramp back up against Russia, and that's, in my opinion, because the neoconservatives and the neoliberals who were so affected by their mindset and ideology realized that it's actually not good if you win the war that is getting everybody, if you defeat the evil empire that you've set up as the empire of the people and everything, it's not actually good if you defeat that empire and whatever fear-mongering villain you've set up and to be its replacement doesn't work out. They did not successfully manage to make the American people or the West in general scared of just broad Islamic terrorism broadly. They never managed to make it quite as big or as dangerous or as present a foe in the minds of a lot of people as Russia. And so, Russia's coming back as the big bad enemy we all have to be afraid of and worry about. And in my opinion, they're probably not much better off than they were in the 80s. Yeah, they probably got jets, they probably got subs. But I think that this showy kind of military equipment is probably the only stuff they have that's operational. I'm going to mute up real quick. Alright, I gotta go. I'll see you again sometime. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for signing up for your membership, by the way. Gail has no right to make such delicious food. I know, right? It's too yummy. God damn, those things are loud. That's valid. But yeah, I don't think.
I think he's my spirit animal.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel the same way. I just don't think that it would lead to a lot of the consequences a lot of other people project. I just think it's often overplayed.
Maybe. I think I'll say what that guy said yesterday. I don't know what his name is. I don't know if we want to test that because we could be wrong. We could be wrong. And not only that, the people, while they may dislike their government and dislike the Russian mafia and stuff like that, I don't know how patriotic they are for their country and whether they would actually put up a fight.
Well, I'm not saying we necessarily need to invade them. My thing is that we need to use the American military to push the Russian military completely out of Ukraine and then just establish a firm line. Like, there will be no more incursions. We're going to stay here until you leave.
That's more likely than us rolling into Russia, I think.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm advocating for. I mean, I kind of went a little further than that occasionally just to kind of make the point, but, like, yeah, I don't think we would even need to, right? I think that it would very easily be solved just by us doing the, like, all right, we're going to enter this full force kind of thing. Obviously, like I said in yesterday's debate, we would have to pull out of Iran first, and we would have to resupply for like a year before we'd be able to do something like this. But I think after a good year, I think after a good year of resupplying, there's a good chance America would be able to mount a successful campaign to repel the Russians completely out of Ukraine. And at that point, we just set up a hard line. No more incursions. And if there are more incursions, we'll go further. And we'll establish a little barrier zone if we have to. And, we'll hold the barrier until Ukraine has had no border disputes for 5 years, and then whoop-de-hoo-da-day, there we go.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, now they're gone, border disputes.
Do what?
It's like, now that they're gone, border disputes. Yay!
Well, that's the thing. I think we stay there until...
What I'm trying to say is, like, we'll have to play daddy the whole time, and forever, if that's what we're gonna do.
Not forever, no. You just... I think, like, literally, it would just take the 5 years that... I think NATO requires you to not have any border disputes for, like, 5 years before you can join NATO. So that would do it.
Oh, you're saying that given enough time so where Ukraine can join NATO and then it would be a world war if they fought.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. That's the whole reason why Ukraine wants to join NATO so bad. And that's one of the reasons why Europe wants Ukraine to join NATO, is so that Russia will be incentivized to stop fucking attacking them.
Right. Another thing that bothers me is that Ukraine kind of had a couple of chances, and they kind of blew it off.
What do you mean?
But basically.
I don't know. I would have to look into that more. I just don't know enough about the conflict to be able to say for sure. I did see that you were sending food pictures in my Discord, but I'm not looking at them.
Did Ukraine have the chance to join NATO before the war? Alright, so Ukraine had a theoretical promise of future membership from NATO starting in 2008, but the alliance never offered a concrete invitation or timeline before the 2022 invasion. Internal politics shifted in Kiev, strict military requirements, and reluctance from key Western members to provoke Russia kept the door closed. 2008 Bucharest Summit. Bucharest? That's interesting.
Bucharest.
Bucharest Summit. NATO declared that Ukraine would eventually become a member, but explicitly denied Kiev a membership action plan (MAP) due to opposition from key European alliances like Germany and France. So Germany and France were like, yeah, no, fuck them. And in 2010 and 2014, Ukraine paused its own pursuit of the membership when its parliament passed a law under President Viktor
Milenkovic.
defining the what?
Milenkovic.
It's a Y though.
Yeah, I know.
YANUKO. It's not Yankovic. It's not Yankovic. It's O. It's
Oh wait. Well, who was it?
Viktor Yanukovych.
Yanukovych.
Something like that.
Yanukovych. Yeah, I think.
Why can't they have a normal alphabet? Defining the country as non-aligned. 2014 aftermath following the Russian illegal annexation of Crimea and the conflict in the Donbass, Ukraine revived its goal to join, embedded into the Constitution in 2019. However, existing members hesitated to admit a nation with active territorial disputes due to the risk of triggering Article 5 mutual defense. Okay, so I was wrong. They wanted to join. Germany and France were like, fuck Ukraine, we're good on that. And,
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, well, whatever, fuck you too. And then like, oh shit, Russia, here comes Russia. It's like, okay, can we please fucking join? We're gonna die over here. And then they're like, you waited too long, now you're in active war. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of like, that's why I think that this war is kind of it's a fucked up topic, man, with a lot of nuance to it, because, like, if you just look at the, like, just pro-Ukraine media kind of side of things, you might get the impression that the European and American government really just don't want Russia to have Ukraine, man. They really want peace in Ukraine, man. They want the Ukraine war to end, Joe. But problem is, the more you look into it, the more you learn about the conflict, the more it starts to look like Europe might have participated in its own subjugation at Russian hands, and the more you start to wonder.
It kind of sounds like Russia knew that if they waited any longer, that Ukraine would probably be in NATO, and their chances of taking Ukraine wouldn't be possible in the future. So, like, well, to stop them from being into NATO, we basically got attacked now.
Right.
It sounds like.
And that's one of the reasons why I think that, like, an actual push from America that, like, pushes the Russian army out and, forces them into a defensive position might actually be the best thing for the conflict. Because, like, it doesn't seem like it's going to end any other way. And at this point, like, their efforts to join are being largely, like, supported by other European member states, at least in theory, if they can just get over this little border dispute. And I also worry that some collusion might be going on between, like, Russian oligarchs and people in Europe to kind of control the flow of things and stuff like that. Right. There's always collusion. And it's got to be easier for a Russian oligarch to woo a European business person than it is for them to woo an American one, I would imagine.
Right. Well, not just that, but like Germany always had a problem with Russia and Ukraine. So, I mean, it does not surprise me that they would have a problem. And I'm sure France also had a, because during the whole World War II bullshit. But the other thing is, it's like we're treating Ukraine like a porcupine, and like Russia is the lion. We're trying to wait if the lion gets tired of trying to get the porcupine. That's what it feels like.
You're gonna have to remind me of this fable.
So, like in Africa, they have big ass porcupines, and the lions, hyenas, other prey animals, or not prey animals, but
Predators.
animals like cheetahs, predators.
Yeah.
Sometimes the porcupine wins, sometimes the porcupine loses.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to wait to see if the porcupine can like last long enough for the tiger to get tired of trying to eat the porcupine.
Ah, now I see what you're saying, yeah. And I think I actually do agree, yeah. I mean, that's basically like the war of attrition kind of strategy that we've adopted for this Ukraine conflict. We're just trying to, it feels like European and American powers are just trying to play out the string and see exactly how long they can get by doing things the way they've been doing them so far, you know?
Yeah. And I would tell you, that tiger is getting quills in its mouth, slowly.
It's getting what?
Quills in its mouth.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that's what makes you wonder, if maybe things couldn't switcheroo the other way.
Oh, I'm saying tiger. I mean lion. Not tiger. Tigers are trouble.
Yeah, Tigers aren't even the same environment, you jackass.
The savannah is what I mean.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding. I'm just trying to see if it's gonna rain here.
You're trying to see this rain?
I want to see if it's gonna rain in my area. I don't think it's gonna. No, it does not. Not as often as you might think.
It's rain every other day, it seems.
Oh, here?
Well, whenever you stream, it's either raining or it's not raining.
What kind of observation is that? Well, yeah, it's either the natural state of things or it's the natural state of things. Like, yeah, it's either... I've noticed, Phoebe, every fucking time you stream, it is either daytime or nighttime. I don't know. I didn't know there was a third option. Sorry, man.
Robert. That's too funny.
Yeah. No, it ain't been raining here much lately. I mean, it's been like saying it's gonna rain, and I've been talking about how it might rain, but every time it's quote unquote rained, it's just pissed a little bit and then moved on. And that's just pretty much how like August and September are just that way down here, from my understanding.
Yeah. We haven't had any rain in a long time.
Yeah, I feel that.
No rain. It's just perfect and sunny with the dry heat. No muggy water.
Yeah, I will say it has gotten significantly less humid down here since the beginning of, like, since the first week of August passed. Like, it's gonna get up pretty hot today, and it's gonna get up pretty hot, you know, the rest of this week. But pretty much every week of high temperatures is like, well, that's like, you know, the last week we'll probably have of temperatures that high and that close a day in a row. It's just getting cooler and cooler, and you know, about a month and a half it'll be fall. Yay, it'll be fall.
Let's see here. Is it time for bad news?
No, I gotta get off here pretty soon. I need to go, like, lay down and eat and
Bad
stuff.
news? I gotta get away, I gotta run. No bad news.
Well, no, I mean, I just don't want to stay on here forever. Huh?
I said we could just chat until you gotta go. It's not big deal.
Alright, yeah, because I'm probably gonna go, you know, and not right this second, but here in a few. I'm gonna smoke this last bowl with you, and then I'm gonna get out of here. But yeah, the chat's died to nothing, and I wouldn't want to cover important news stories while there's nobody in here. I'd want to get, you know, a few more people in, so.
Right.
We will simply sit and, you know, I will smoke while I entertain you with my stonery nonsense. Or you entertain me with your sober nonsense.
Are you not entertained?
I am entertained.
I'm more of like, I'll drive you home, you know, make sure you're covered up. Type of guy.
Make sure you're covered up. That's so sweet. You got your blankie and everything. It is nice, dude. The few times in my life, there's only been like 2 times in my life where I've been so fucked up drunk that I, at some point that I don't remember, had to be like led to my bedroom and laid down in the bed. There's only been like 2 times I can remember that happening. And I will tell you, huh?
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I will tell you, both times I did wake up tucked in with a blanket, and I was quite happy about that.
Do you like just light tuck, or do you like the burrito?
It depends. Like, honestly, if I'm sick, sometimes I will get really sick, and I will get to where I'm like just freezing cold, even though I've got a fever or whatever, right? And usually it's cold. I'm usually not a hot fever person. I'm usually like I'm extremely cold. My fucking body is dying. What was happening to me? Kind of person. So I will burrito in those instances, and I've got a very, very, very nice blanket for burritoing. It's huge. I don't even know what kind of fucking bed it's made for. It's massive.
Like a comforter?
Yeah, it's like a comforter of some kind. But it's like bigger than a normal comforter, I feel like.
I prefer comforters over blankets, personally.
Well, you know, whatever this thing is, I love it. And so if I'm not sick or something, I don't burrito, especially with that thing, because, like, it provides so much coverage anyway, and it's just so nice to, like, stretch out under it and feel covered in all directions. It feels so good. But if I'm sick, sometimes I just want to keep all of my body parts close together and, like, retain the warmth that my body is, like, using to kill the disease or whatever.
Right.
Are
you the type of person that you don't get sick often, but when you do, you get really sick?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I tell you what, weirdly enough, I have not gotten sick. And I don't want to think about this too hard, because I think it'll make me probably get some negative associations in my head, but I have not gotten sick since I haven't gotten sick since the fucking DFF meetup. I got a little bit sick. I got sick while I was at the DFF meetup. And I pretty much knew I was going to. Huh?
So what, shit time to get sick?
I know, right? Well, I didn't really feel sick until I got home anyway, so it's whatever. But, you know.
Worst time, too.
No, yeah, for
time.
sure.
Poor Phoebe, you just had a bad time during that time.
Yeah, it was. Now you understand why I was so stressed and miserable, you know?
Well, I'm not talking about you just being sick, but being sick on top of everything else.
I know. But anyway, I haven't gotten sick since then, and I just wonder sometimes if that's got anything to do with the fact that I don't know, I've been able to, I haven't been working in food service for the last year or two, and I haven't been in close contact with someone who works with food service, and I haven't really been in super close personal contact with anybody, really, except my kid, obviously. You know, but he's the only person I'm sharing kisses with, and obviously, my ex is gonna take as many pains as they can to make sure he doesn't get sick, so, you know, it just makes me wonder, man, have I just been getting sick from my jobs all these years? And if so, what a fucking sorry indictment on the status of public health in America.
Right, well, nobody's really taking care of themselves as they should. And they just, they act like they can just go out and just, fuck the world by getting everybody else sick. But not just that, but also jobs don't give a shit. They'll make you work if you're sick or not,
Exactly. I know I had to do that. I know I had to do that a number of times. Plus, customers don't give a shit. And even I've been this customer sometimes. Now, I try, nowadays, if I'm ever sick, I try to just stay home until I'm better. And if I've absolutely got to go out, then I try and remember to use a face mask and shit. But, customers for the most part don't give a shit. They'll be sick as a fucking dog, letting you handle their money without hand sanitizer and touching all kinds of stuff. And you can't wash every surface every second of the day, every minute of the passing hour. So naturally, things get transmitted and you don't even realize they're getting transmitted. And environments where you're just tons of people are passing through, and food surfaces and all this, they're already high transmission areas. And then you add to that just the absolutely fucked attitude that we have here in America towards public health. Not just obviously the private healthcare model, but also just people don't take care of themselves. They run themselves ragged. They work sick all the time, often because they have to. A lot of times they don't even have the resources to take care of themselves, even if they wanted to, effectively. And so there's just tons of sick, not immunocompromised, but just sick fucking compromised people with all kinds of shit that they could possibly transmit, walking around all the time. And it's not their fault. It's not something really that they can help, and it's not really something that we're doing anything in America to stop, because we just don't talk about our problems here. I mean, some of us do, but so many of them get lost in the matrix.
It's never been worse as now for health, except for the the vaccine wave.
Pre-1920s maybe.
Just fucking killing us. And people, I don't know how he's not being burned at the stake. and we're blaming Fauci when RFK is out there and shit. And he recently said that he's on this new diet and he can shit and not wipe. That's the person we're dealing with.
What?
Yeah, I kid you not. RFK said he was on this new diet, and he is. And he used the word organic. They're so good that he can shit without wiping. He comes out clean. He doesn't get shit all over his ass cheeks, and he doesn't have to wipe. That's what he said. And not so many descriptive words, but yes.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
RFK never was mighty enough to fall.
America! America, Matt! Not fucking not Bobby Kennedy Jr. America.
It was a disaster this whole time.
You know what? America was once proud, god damn it. We once had a beautiful civil rights movement in this country and an anti-war movement in this country that tore through it like wildfire. Changed a ton of people's minds, changed some policy, made shit better. And you know what? We fucking for a while, we made something of ourselves, god damn it.
Yeah, we were
for a couple years there.
We were becoming better.
For like a couple years there, things were looking up. We were getting out of Vietnam. We were electing a Democrat. It was Jimmy Carter, so, but, you know, still. And how quickly it fell.
Americans' attention span is real short. Sometimes bad shit has to keep happening for them to realize, oh yeah, that's why that didn't work. We should probably not do that.
Yeah, I think Americans need to be a hell of a lot more critical of the Democratic Party. I know that sounds random. Huh?
I mean, we should be a lot more critical about our politics anyway.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, obviously. I just think that, like, I was just sitting here thinking about, like, what a fucking failboat Jimmy Carter was, and how much better how much better off America would have been if because there were a few, if one of the influential and really just awesome leftists that were active at the time, it would have been so cool if some of them would have, like, if one of them would have been able to win the presidency, you know, in 1976 instead of fucking Jimmy Carter getting the nomination and then getting the presidential win. Because you know what that did? It basically helped to, I don't know how to put it. Maybe it would, because you know what? Like, the truth of it is, the Democratic Party should not be the party of the left. It shouldn't be. It should just be another party Republicans vote for, honestly. Because the Democratic Party, if you look back through its history, it only started to, like, it literally only started to cater to more than just a kind of vague labor sentiment. Literally, it only started to pivot to other, like, social issues and war and stuff like that. Basically, as a result of pressure that came from the Republicans going so far to the right and, you know, therefore going past the Democrats with the Southern strategy. And it came from pressures from within America for people who were looking desperately for another movement. And the Democratic Party basically came in, it basically swooped in and was able to, using the weight of one old Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, it was basically able to use the weight of a couple of big influential names to subvert the leftist and progressive energy of a growing generation of people and turn that into liberal, centrist, moderate, status quo bullshit. And I feel like it has just gotten better and better at doing that over the last, like, 30, 40 years. And I don't know how many people realize that there's not a whole lot of good reason to actually believe that the Democratic Party is a fundamentally different institution than it ever was. The Democratic Party was born out of the Southern aristocratic planter class wanting to retain as much of their fucking power as they possibly could. Who's to say it's not still the aristocratic billionaire class of America in general providing just another outlet for controlled opposition. I don't know, man. I'm beginning to wonder. Because it really does, like, did you hear about that shit with the DNC autopsy? Where there's like a whole chapter that Ken Martin deleted?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Ken Martin deleted a whole chapter out of the DNC autopsy. The dude who wrote the autopsy kept a copy, and it had been waiting for months to see if the DNC would finally admit that they cut that and put it out, and they didn't, so he decided to publish it himself. And in that, it basically describes, the whole chapter that was omitted is talking about how there is an elite kind of, I forget how exactly he worded it, but he basically says that a big thing keeping the Democratic Party held back is a group of well-paid, influential, old, and highly bought-in people, and a bunch of like consultants and shit that surround them. It didn't obviously use such descriptive language or anything like that, and I wish I could remember the exact wording, but it basically confirms something that people on the left have been saying about the Democratic Party for a good decade now, which is that the mechanisms of the Democratic Party, its donor structure, everything about it basically funnels power into a few distinct people and incentivizes the people who get to the point where they can access some power to consolidate all of their efforts around keeping their job and accelerating upwards so that they can wield even more power and influence, and that is basically being used for personal gain and no good political justification. And that entire chapter basically talking about these big structural problems was cut for obvious reasons, because Ken Martin did not want an official DNC document out there floating around talking about how there is a very influential group of secretaries and fucking staffers and shit like that that have been just getting rich generationally off of the incompetency of the Democratic Party, and that it goes all the way up from leadership down to, like I said, just campaign staffers that are used time and time and time and time again.
Right.
You know, there are people whose like entire jobs, like since the early 2000s, have been doing like paid campaign work for Democratic candidates. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah. It's definitely, yeah. That's what I feel like that's what politics is. It's just a bunch of conniving, do what we gotta do to get on top group of people. It seems like no matter what side you put them on. And the system kind of makes people into that. It feels like.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you won't win, so you have to play the game. You gotta do the shit if you want to get anywhere. And that just leads to corruption, I feel. No matter what, it'll lead to corruption. Like, we think AOC is not corrupt, but, what happens if she gets into power? So will she become corrupt? Is she corrupt now? Or do we know that for sure? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think we know whether or not she's corrupt yet. Like, is she corrupt, or is she just going along to get along? Does it make much of a difference if she's still voting for the Iron Dome? Like, if you're just going along to get along, I mean, like, that's not much better than I was just following orders, honestly. It's not. It's, well, it's just, it rings of excuse-making to me. Oh, I was simply voting for the Iron Dome so that I could preserve my career, because that's the best way that I can help the people of New York City. God damn it. How am I supposed to help the people of, whatever neighborhood it is she represents? I forget. No, but it's a
Oh, I don't know.
specific neighborhood in New York, and I can't remember which of the 5 boroughs she represents. But the best way I can look out for the people in my city is by retaining my career, and the only way I could do that is by voting for this bill. Even if she'd use some justification like that, at the end of the day, we all know it rings of excuse making, and it sounds like the same kind of thing anybody would say to justify the keeping of their job, and or I'm sorry, the justification of like why you should continue to vote for me, even though I don't vote for causes you support. I actually vote against some of the things you want to see happen, but still vote for me. Why? Cause
I mean, we all saw it on live TV. It sounds like AOC had hopes to change shit, and then Pelosi came in and made her cry. And like, nah, you're gonna do this, whether you like it or not.
yeah, that's literally what I think happened. I think Nancy Pelosi, probably, and I hate it. God, I hate that video.
Yeah, it was pretty sad to see it right on TV.
Right.
Corruption. It just had.
Because I think basically that she went over there and gave her like a shortened version of the talk, which is basically like, I run this shit. You will not vote against Israel. You are not going to be the change you want to see in the world. You're a politician now. You vote how I tell you, or you lose your seat and any influence you had. I think she should have done it, though. I think she should have fucking done it and then told the whole world what Nancy Pelosi just told her.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the Democratic Party does not control the voters of her district. And the voters of her district would have loved her for that.
Yeah. That's the sad thing about Pelosi and a lot of Democratic politicians is, I gotta give it to the right-wing people. They're right about them being corrupt. Pelosi has made billions in the stock market.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Democratic Party leadership is, like, openly and known to be corrupt. And if you look into the history of the Democratic Party and its many position flips over the years, it just, at a certain point, it all starts to seem very cynical to me. And I just start to wonder, like, what are we doing here? What's the point of all this?
I think that's what the people felt. Like, what is the point of all this? What are we doing here? And they just got tired of it. They just like, fuck it. If they're not going to do anything, we're just going to burn the system down, and we're just going to vote for the worst person possible. And that's kind of what happened.
I think you're right, honestly. I honestly think you're right that was especially in Trump's first term. I think that was a big inspiration for a lot of people, and it might have even been a big inspiration for some people in 2024. Now, I mostly think the people who voted for Trump in 2020 were just like hateful bigots and crazy people and shit like that. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of people who just didn't vote in 2020, like there is in every election in America. But in 2024, I think that there's maybe a better argument for that again, because like once you see your situation become bad enough, it just stops making sense. Like the idea of like trying to even vote for improvement stops making any kind of good logical sense. You start wondering, well, maybe we just need some kind of tear the system down kind of person. Maybe we just need some kind of radically different direction. This person is calling out all the problems, and hell, maybe some of their solutions don't make a lot of sense to me, but maybe they'll make sense at some point. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And I think that's really dumb. I would much rather they funnel that energy into advocacy for a strong third party or independent candidate or something like that. But it's something we got to contend with. It's a willingness that we have to contend with.
I mean, I think a lot of the well-intentioned people who voted for Trump in the first time he ran were like, well, let's give him a shot. Let's give him a try and see if he actually shakes things up. What they didn't realize is he was going to turn it upside down.
Yeah. They didn't know he was going to become unrecognizable to them.
I think a lot of people probably regret voting for him the first time, for sure.
Yeah. I think about it. And I don't know. I think that there's lots of people that regret voting for him the first time, yeah. But I also wonder if there are people who have come over that didn't vote for the... In fact, I know there's people that have come over since then, and I wonder if that doesn't actually represent, like, the core of Maga. If Maga is a perpetual stew, then we're in, like, year 4 or 5 of the refining of the stew. And I think that at this point we might be actually starting to see what the concentrated flavors are after years of build-up.
It's not going to taste very good because I feel like MAGA is half bitter old white people and the other half is chud white adults. Or chud white kids, you know, like teenagers.
Don't forget about... Don't forget about the black conservatives and the pick-me Hispanics. You can't forget about them.
Like self-hating black and Spanish people is kind of crazy.
I don't know if I'd say that, but yeah, it is kind of weird. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I'm not going to blame you for going that far.
Well, yeah, but whenever I listen to like a Spanish person who voted for Trump, he's like, I got out of that place because of the gangs and stuff, and
yeah, you're right. It always does sound.
You're letting them in here, and then those people need to stay out.
Right. It always does sound a little negging, right? Because you just want to shake them and explain, like, motherfucker, you're seen in the same exact light. You're seen in the same light. Like, these ICE motherfuckers aren't distinguishing between you. I might distinguish between you and a gang member. Of course I would. But, like, some random conservative dude isn't doing that.
Right. Yeah, I see it as a brown person who's maybe lapsed and is waiting to re-up their green card, and they see it and they don't give a shit. They'll kick you out.
Yeah, you're done. You're donezo.
What happened to those last two people? They got tied up and executed by some Spanish gang and when they were deported.
Yeah.
That's what happened to them.
I mean, it keeps happening to people. There have been, like, hundreds of people who have just fucking flat out disappeared. And nobody's talking about it. Hardly anybody's talking about it. But there are literally hundreds of people that have just flat out disappeared out of ICE custody. No, they weren't deported as far as ICE knows. They didn't die as far as ICE is saying. They didn't, like, no, they're just gone. I don't know what happened to them.
You mean you've gone by, you know, being cremated and then tossed into a empty ditch somewhere? Sure.
Yeah, like well, you gotta wonder at a certain point, like, what the fuck?
I feel like a lot of these people are dying in custody, and they're just like, well, they're not U.S. citizens, so let's just cremate them and toss them into an unmarked grave and just never speak of it.
Yeah, I legitimately, unironically think you're 100% right. That's what I think it is. I believe that people are dying, that undocumented people, and possibly documented people who were in the process, but anyway, I believe that people, the massive amount of people who've died this year within ICE custody, who've just disappeared out of ICE custody with no good explanation as to where they went, I believe it is likely people who have died for some reason or another, usually probably to lack of care or starvation or some combination thereof in the ICE facilities, and are then being cremated and disposed of, like you said, in unmarked graves, and their records just being stripped. Like, oh, we don't know what happened to them. Don't know. We're certainly not keeping any records. I mean, this is like, this could turn into a Holocaust level fucking event. I mean, it already constitutes a genocide.
Well, a genocide, I don't know about genocide that far, but it's definitely mass murder for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, man. Like if you actually look into the definition of genocide, there's a pretty good argument to be made.
We're not killing all Spanish
No,
people.
but that's the thing.
That would be
That when I
genocide,
looked into it, killing, like, you don't, like, okay, so genocide is still genocide, even if killing is only how you're getting rid of some of them. Like, genocide also features forced deportations, encouraged deportations, prisoner transfers, all these different weird methods to get people out of a country or eliminated, whichever one. And obviously, the most prominent and evil examples of genocide include a mass paradigm of mass death. But, like, I would argue that the attempt by the Trump administration to culturally normalize violence against Hispanic people, to normalize the idea of them getting rounded up into unmarked vans by unaccountable federal agents, all of this constitutes the beginnings, at the very least.
Well, I don't like to throw around the genocide word a lot because I feel like it may not be considered a true genocide, and using the word kind of gives the word less meaning.
I don't think it does when you're talking about how evil what we're doing is.
Genocide.
I just personally disagree because I just feel like what we're doing is evil enough to warrant it. But I guess that's up to other people's interpretation. Maybe I can't call it a genocide, but it feels like I'm looking at the beginnings of a genocide against Hispanic people and brown immigrants broadly.
Sure. Well, the definition says a national, ethnic, or racial or religious group destroy whole or in part. So I don't.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, beginning stages maybe. Maybe it doesn't quite qualify yet.
I really do believe they consider illegal immigrants to be not citizens, so they don't have rights as a citizen. So they don't need to be reported on if they die or what happens to the remains afterwards.
Right, but that makes Right, but that makes no difference as to whether it's a genocide or not, right? The bureaucratic.
I'm just talking about like their reasoning, you know.
Sure, yeah, maybe you're right.
But like, why we're not hearing on it? It might be because there's no laws like compelling them to answer those questions.
Well, that's the thing. The Constitution applies to everybody, and there are constitutional rights that are being denied ICE prisoners.
Well, that's what we're arguing for, but that's not what they're arguing for. They're arguing like, you know, they don't have any rights whatsoever, so we don't have to say shit. And that's the way they've been treating them.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's why it's so important to bring up that they are acting against the law, that they're not abusing a law system that allows them to do this through some mechanism. They're abusing the legal system by going outside of it and basically saying, stop me if you can, you know? Which is, those are two distinctly different things. It's one thing to manipulate a fucked up legal system to do something that is legal but fucked and everybody hates it, right? That sucks, and hopefully that can be undone, but, like, just doing a bunch of stuff, you know, law be damned, fuck the law, I'm just gonna do my own thing, we don't have to give you shit, bitch. That kind of thing is, like, that's textbook authoritarianism.
Right. No, I agree. What's happening right now is full-on authoritarianism.
Right, and I feel like nobody's talking about it the way it needs to be talked about. Like, for the longest time, I thought the whole Nazi Germany comparisons were...
Whatever laws we have are holding on for dear life to stop Trump from going down the whole, the road that would actually lead to like a Nazi Germany. But it's trying to get there.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
It's trying to become like a white ethno state, and we're, and every color of person can just get the fuck out of some white people. Is what it feels like. What they want to do.
Right.
If you're not Christian, if you're not white, you have rights. If you don't like people, I should say Israelis. Easy now.
Sorry.
It's okay. I also, but we have to also have to consider that it feels like half the country knows it's wrong what's happening, but they're unwilling to give a shit and stop what's happening. Because if we all cared, we could fix this situation. But we got a whole group of people who want to fight.
Well,
as
yeah.
hard as they can to keep it going.
Well, that's the thing. That group, the group of people, you know how that cart analogy that me and Paul use. Have I explained this to you before? Society as a cart. So the idea is this: society is a cart. Most people are riding in the cart, not actively helping to push it forward, but not actively helping to pull it backwards either. I would say most people, in terms of their activism, are riding in the cart. And then there are quite a few people, varying numbers of people, at either end of the cart. And some of them are trying to pull the cart forward into, better territory and more opportunities. And some people that are terrified of change and paranoid about what may lie up ahead are trying their level-headed best at the back of the cart to pull things in the other direction. And right now, there are basically too many people on the cart. And that's, I think, what you're outlining, is that there are too many people, and because really, it can sometimes seem like there are way more people at the back of the cart pulling it back now. What I really think it is that as far as the people trying to pull the cart in either direction, it's been more or less split, I think, as far as like the politically active. And if we really want to get like anything like positive change for this country, we really got to start pleading with the people in the cart to hop their asses out of the cart and join the people pulling us into new territory. Because if we don't, then eventually enough people tire out, age out, or get killed at the front of the cart that it does start going backwards. And it's already been pulled backwards a number of times already. And I would argue that right now, so many people are tired and the path is so muddied by how far we've been dragged back already that the people at the front of the cart are struggling just to keep the rope out of the mud, let alone, move it forward with any real strength or power. So it's really a matter of, getting tons of people involved, and the Republicans have been way better at that for a while now than the Democrats have. So I just think it's time for progressives to start doing things that the Democratic Party will not do. Like, for progressives to go out there and start their own door-knocking campaigns, to train themselves on door-knocking, to train themselves on flyering and all kinds of different things that they can use to spread the message in places it's not being spread right now, to get people thinking about progressive electoral action at a state level that they might be able to participate in, to get people to realize what kind of horrible things are going on. I mean, hell, maybe I should give a flyering class on here. I don't know, but it's like there is so much that people can do, and I think that if there was anything I could give a young active leftist in terms of like a direction to put their energy. I'm not saying you're that. I'm just saying like because that's kind of the type of person who watches my channel. But if I could give someone like that, oh sorry, some kind of direction to point their energy in, I would tell them, learn how to flyer, learn how to print out and distribute pamphlets, learn where to order leftist and progressive literature and start putting it in all the libraries around you and the little free libraries and start leaving it at coffee shops and things like that. Start pouring your heart into making as many strangers consider leftist messaging in your little hometown as possible, because it might not seem like it's making a difference, but eventually people will start talking about it. And I think that that's pretty much our only hope at this point, is getting enough people to realize how badly off things are, that a massive sit-in movement happens, or some kind of massive third-party movement happens that is able to achieve change at a federal level, because we just can't keep on going like this.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and I wish people realized that there was stuff like that they could do. Like, you know, because it really does. I think one of the reasons I don't get as politically despairing as some other people do is because a lot of the reason why I feel like I can be politically effective, despite the fact that I live in the country, is because I've got this microphone now. You know, I've got this channel now where I'm able to kind of say what I believe in, and I'm able to do a lot of advocacy, as much advocacy or more than I would be able to if I were just doing like local on the ground type stuff. But even if you're not a YouTuber or whatever, you can still like look up some like good ideas for progressive flyers that talk about local issues in your area and shit. You can still learn how to do stuff like that, and then, you know, like go to your local library and have them print you out like 50 flyers that you're going to hand out to people, or that's what you tell them anyway, and then learn how to make wheat paste, and then you learn how to wheat paste them bitches up everywhere you can, and you make sure that people are seeing things, and just like that alone, you know, like you drive by the little poster that you wheat pasted the other night, suddenly you feel a little bit better because you know 200 people have probably seen that message. It's almost like posting a meme. And
yeah, but then it becomes like, oh, well, that's not only is that littering, that's defacing a structure. And
yeah, but you never get charged, dude. No, dude, nobody ever gets charged for that shit. Nobody ever gets charged for fucking, like, I guess maybe you could under the current fucking police state in some places, but like it's one of those things, dude. You know what?
Guy was making a difference, you know what I mean? They'd be like, well, we got to put an end to that. You know?
Dude, I don't know. It's one of those things. Fucking, you know what sucks, Matt, is that the reason so many leftists tell you to join your local socialist org and, you know, join the IWW, all this stuff, is because an organization that vets its members somewhat and meets over Discord and is not live streaming and shit and is meeting in person and stuff, they can do stuff and engage in direct action and talk about stuff that I can't really, or that it wouldn't be good for you to talk about publicly. Like, for example, the tactics behind flyering. I don't want to sit here and explain how flyering is done effectively, or at least part of me doesn't, because I wonder if that will be used, scraped by the AI, and like I just wonder if it'll be, when the transcript of this is published, after the video is processed and everything, what if it gets scraped by some AI, and now that's part of the bank of knowledge the AI has as to how to help police departments more effectively track down these horrible defacers and vandals.
Right. No, I get it. It's definitely, I mean, they're definitely using flock cameras. They're definitely checking social medias for what people are saying. And,
That's what I'm saying.
If you do something, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. And so these days it's just kind of scary, you know? Like, what do you do? What the fuck are you still doing up, Lamau? I'm about to be getting off here soon, Ignar. Back and forth with the guests. Yes, this is Matt from the chat. You know Matt Blank. It's Ignar.
It's his eye.
And now I still up? I don't know, man. I've had a really weird sleep schedule lately. My life's been strange. I'm not going to be up for too much longer, but I've been saying that for the last 20 minutes, so who knows. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Fake news.
Huh?
We're talking about firing and like.
Oh yeah. So I feel like there's some aspects of it I can talk about, and I'll try to talk about it with like tactics in mind that I wouldn't want other people seeing. Let me read the super chat real quick. Firing. I'll not forget about it this time. Ignar Husky with the $10. You started streaming a few hours before I closed, and I'm literally about to sleep after my streaming and food consumption, and still rocking it. I yearn for such constitution and endurance. Sure. Cheers. Thank you, Ignar. I have been streaming for most of the night tonight. I think I started around 1, and it's 8:30 right now, so I've been streaming for the better part of 7.5 hours. Oh? Is that rain? A little bit of rain. Nice.
Oh, now it's raining.
It's just a tiny little bit, but yeah. I'll take it. A tiny little bit's better than none. I didn't mean to distract your chat. I think mine was like 4+ hours. Yeah, no, yours was like 4+ hours, and I'm sure you ate and everything else. But yeah, no, I've been trying to give the people as much as I possibly can on my off weeks when I don't have my kids, so that because I really feel like I got the best job in the world, and I want to provide people that actually like listening to my bullshit with as much of that as they can possibly stomach, you know? And I want to try and reach new people if I can. I'm not so desperate to do it that I'll restart too many times. Like tonight, I've been going for 3 hours on this one stream, and it's had around 10 viewers for the last hour of that. So I'm not worried about it, though, because I'm having an interesting conversation, and it's still up there. If I want to clip this at some point and post it in a separate video, I can. And, you know, take out some of the pauses and make it a little bit more interesting or whatever. I could do that. That's something I could do with this stream if I want to, even though it doesn't have a lot of viewers right now. So it's like it's recyclable content in a way. Yeah, so as far as flyering goes, the existence of flock cameras is already kind of changing how it works, because like right now you kind of, so even when I was learning how to flyer back in 2023, when flock cameras weren't really a thing yet, maybe they were in some places, but they weren't becoming like a super widespread thing yet. They were only being implemented in a limited number of places. So it wasn't really much of a concern. It wasn't something anybody expected to encounter. But at this point, I think it would probably be one of those things that would be part of the planning stage to look at the deflock map, see exactly where flock's cameras are all placed at. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, so you'd probably want to see where they're all placed at, and then like you can actually see on deflock where like those cameras look and what kind of field of view they have and shit. And it's very often quite a lot of coverage. It's quite a cone, but a lot of times if you look at it, they'll be like clustered in ways that enable someone to get around them if they're smart and they know what to do. But it's definitely something you'd want to be part of the planning stage. I'm not saying you'd want to do anything to the flock camera. In fact, that'd be one of the greatest ways to get yourself caught. But you'd want to stay away from those, and if you do have to go into their line of sight, well, that's one of the reasons why you'd want to have one of these around your neck, one of these little bandanas, because just like John Marston or Arthur and Red Dead fucking Redemption, those two games, just like the fucking cowboys in those games, the bandana in real life can also be used to secure your identity. And it's also, you know, when it's not in use, it's just a little accoutrement, you know, like you don't even really notice it. It just becomes like a fashion piece after a while. But then when you do need to use it, then, you know, there you go. And you do kind of look like a bandit walking around like that, so it's something you kind of have to be limited about or use in context. Like if it's a cool night, then you can just wear warm clothes that make it look like you're extra cold, basically, and then you won't get questioned much for having something up over your face. But if you've got something like that you can put up over your face, that will make it a lot harder for Flock to assign the like recording it takes of you walking around to your identity. And you know, as far as like placement and stuff like that, I mean, if you see flyers in your town, you already know where to place the flyers. It's just a matter of like getting there and doing the deed without being caught, you know? And that's really like the hardest thing. But that's pretty much usually just a matter of like looking around, having a lookout, and being able to number one, being able to scatter in all directions if something should happen, and number two, being able to look like you're just doing something innocuous, you know? Sometimes you can get away with like simply, depending on what kind of tool you have, you can sometimes make it look like you were actually removing something off of the pole, and or covering something up, depending on how you've got your material stored, so that if a cop does roll up on you, you can be like, oh yeah, there was this Nazi symbol somebody put up there and I just wanted to cover it up. And if they ask you why you're walking around with that kind of stuff for anyway, then you just be like, oh, well, I always do this because it seems like there's been a real uptick in that kind of thing lately. And then you explain that, you know, it's washable stuff that hides it for a while and causes it to degrade once it washes off, and you get away with it if you decide not to scatter. But for the most part, you just like make sure that you're not being watched by anybody or in the vicinity of a nearby passing police vehicle, and then, you know, like fucking in a lot of cases too, one of the things you can do to speed the process, and revealing this won't hurt anybody, one of the things you can do to speed the process is to actually apply the adhesive, the wheat paste or whatever adhesive you're using, to the paper before you put it up. Because that way, you know, like you spend all the like arts and crafts time just doing something that looks like you're just painting, right? And then when nobody's driving past, there's no cops in sight, within 3 seconds, you put it up and your arm's back at your side and you just look like you're painting again. And for the most part, outside of that, it's just a matter of not getting caught. But yeah, thank you so much, Ignar, for the $10. I appreciate that a ton. Oh, Matt, that's because my phone died. I'm turning it back on now. But yeah, maybe it's a good time if you're sleepy. Yeah, I am quite sleepy, so I think I am going to go ahead and get off here. It was a good chat, though, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to end it the right way, but you know how it is. My dumb ass, I forgot to charge my fucking phone. Of course I did. I apologize. But it was still a fun talk. And I always enjoy those little opportunities. So hopefully we'll get more of that in the future. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Anywho, actual last comment. I'm sending all the love and vibes. Let me see what you read. It's a freaky what those news bits attack, especially curiously after I met Luigi Mangione, who's rapidly expanded in Flock especially. Suddenly it's just mainstream out of nowhere and we just accept it. Well, one last comment before you go, Ignar. You're 100% right, and I think that the association you're seeing is accurate. It was obvious to me when Luigi Mangione killed that guy, or whatever supposedly happened. When that Brian Thompson fellow lost his life, I knew that the rich and powerful were instantly going to capitalize on that and start demanding massive surveillance systems for their own neighborhoods and for neighborhoods outside of their own and every other city in America and everywhere on Earth at once, all at the same time, because that's the only way we can guarantee our safety. And I knew the rich and powerful were going to literally capitalize on it by making the devices and selling them to everybody that wants them. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Thank y'all for having a... fuck, I need to eat. Thank you guys for chilling with me. Thank you for donating, Ignar, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Damn it.